Chapter 102. The next day, Jun Changshao brought Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, and the others to Green Sun City. Xiao Ziji also followed along. The Type 88 sniper rifle on his back was wrapped in black cloth, giving off a mysterious feeling. Snipers have to pay attention to their surroundings at all times. You can't relax at all. Jun Changshao said. Xiao Ziji was on high alert all the way. Even if there was a wild rabbit running through the grass, he would be able to catch it immediately. He had already accepted the position of a sniper, but he lacked bullets for shooting practice. Talent was important, but to be able to not miss a single shot, he still needed bullets to feel. A few hours later, the group arrived at Green Sun City. As soon as they entered, they attracted the attention of the people in the city. The contempt and ridicule in their eyes were naturally replaced by respect and reverence. During this period of time, Iron Bone's performance had already been recognized. Just as Jun Changshao said, ordinary people like to follow the trend. When you were weak, they would want to kick you. When you were strong, they would want to kneel down and lick your boots. Where is the Sect certification? In the south of the city. Walking along the wide street to the south of the city, Jun Changshao brought his disciples to a building with the words Sect Certification Hall. Why is Iron Bone here? Are they going to get their Sect certified? Although Sect leader Jun defeated Longblade's Sect leader in the grievance arena, his personal strength is not enough. His disciples have to be strong to pass the certification. The Sect Certification Hall has a cooperative relationship with the 100 Races Alliance. Iron Bone has left the alliance, so it will be difficult for them to get certified. Hearing the discussions of the passers-by, Jun Changshao frowned and thought, the certification hall has a cooperative relationship with the 100 Races Alliance. They will definitely make things difficult for them. As expected. After entering the certification hall and reporting their sect's name, the deacon said indifferently, according to the sect certification rules, you must show the 100 Races Alliance's certificate to be certified. Su Xiaoma slammed the table and said angrily, we're already here, why don't you just verify it? Why do you still need a certificate? The deacon said indifferently, this is the sect certification hall, the fair and just authority of the Starfall continent. Sect Master Jun, please tell your disciples to be more respectful. Fair and just. If Jun Changshao didn't care about his status as the sect leader, he would have already taken out the records of the Grand Historian and smashed him in the face. Can't it be verified without a certificate? He asked calmly. The deacon said indifferently, if there is a proof of recommendation from a fifth-rate sect or above, it can also be verified. Of course, a low-level sect like Iron Bone that hasn't even joined the 100 Races Alliance wouldn't be recommended by a major sect, so it's best that you return to where you came from. Fuck. Li Fei couldn't help but slap the table and say, if you fucking say, inferior, again, do you believe that I won't kick you to death? Most of the disciples who joined the Iron Bone sect came from poor backgrounds, except for a few who had some status. They were so angry that they were humiliated, especially by their own sect, that they would definitely swear. The deacon cupped his hands and sneered, what? Iron Bone sect wants to cause trouble in the certification hall. Jun Changshao signaled the angry disciples to calm down and said, I would like to ask, what are the requirements to be verified as an 8th-rate sect? The deacon glanced at the Iron Bone sect disciples who thought they were a bunch of country bumpkins and said indifferently, 5 martial disciples and 5 channel opening stage 12 disciples. Jun Changshao understood and said, goodbye. Watching the Iron Bone sect disciples leave, the deacon said in disdain, he left the 100 Sects Alliance and still wants to be verified. Is this guy stupid? Sect Master, that guy is purposely making things difficult for Iron Bone. Su Xiaoma gritted his teeth and said as they walked out of the certification hall. If he doesn't want to verify, then so be it. He even fucking humiliated us. Tian Qi was so angry that his body was trembling. Li Qingyang said calmly, the certification hall is related to the 100 Sects Alliance. If we want to raise the level of our sect, we can only do it in another province. It doesn't matter. Jun Changshao said. They came to Green Sun City to buy bullets, so the certification was just on the way. Since the other party was purposely making things difficult, they could just not verify it. After all, it was enough for the sect to qualify as an 8th-rate sect. Sect Master Jun. At this moment, a deep and vigorous voice came from afar. Jun Changshao turned around and looked. He said in shock, Elder Ma. That's right. The person who came was Tsang Shan, Sect's Elder Ma. From the aura he emitted, it was obvious that he had broken through to Wuzong. He had been stuck at the peak of Martial Master for a long time. 2 months ago, Jun Changshao gave him some guidance, allowing him to finally break through. Elder Ma stopped in front of Jun Changshao and cupped his hands in gratitude. Thanks to Sect Master Jun's guidance, this old man was able to enter Wuzong. Wuzong? Li Qingyang and the others' eyes were filled with envy and respect. In Qingyang County, those who had reached the level of Martial Master were the top experts. Wuzong was undoubtedly an existence that they looked up to. Jun Changshao said modestly, Elder Ma is confused by the situation. As long as you solve the puzzle, even without Jun, you can easily enter a higher level. Elder Ma's eyes were filled with admiration. When the 100th sect recruited him, he felt that this kid was full of nonsense. Now it seemed that he was a humble little guy. What's wrong? Looking at the sect certification hall, Elder Ma said, Sect Master Jun wants to certify the sect's level? That's right. Jun Changshao said. Elder Ma glanced at the disciples of Iron Bone behind him. Seeing the aura they exuded, he cupped his hands and smiled, Congratulations on your sect's promotion to the 8th rate. Jun Changshao shook his head and said helplessly, If they don't certify, what's there to celebrate? Not certifying? Elder Ma was surprised, What do you mean? The sect certification hall was the authority of the Falling Star continent. Any sect could be certified. It was his first time hearing that they didn't certify. Jun Changshao told him everything. After Elder Ma heard, he said in a deep voice, The 100th Sect Alliance is just a private organization. To think that they can get the sect certification hall to certify, this is the biggest joke in the world. Sect Master Jun, let's go. He made an inviting gesture and said, This old man will bring your sect to be certified. Jun Changshao brought his disciples into the hall again. The deacon stood up and said with a black face, Sect Master Jun, why are you here again? To certify the sect. Jun Changshao said. The deacon rolled his eyes and said in a bad mood, I've already said it clearly. If you want to be certified, you either need to show the 100th Sect Alliance's certification or have a 5th rate, Deacon Zhao. Before he finished, he was interrupted by Elder Ma who walked in, I represent the Blue Mountain Sect to recommend the Iron Bone clan. This should be in accordance with the certification rules, right? Elder Ma. Seeing the Blue Mountain Sect elder walk in, Deacon Zhao hurriedly walked out of the counter and smiled politely, How come you have time to come to the certification hall? His face changed so quickly. Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, and the others cast disdainful glances at this kind of obsequious person. Elder Ma said indifferently, Deacon Zhao, if I remember correctly, you've been a deacon for 10 years. Yes, yes. Deacon Zhao smiled, exactly 10 years. Elder Ma's eyes turned cold, Deacon Zhao is also a senior. I would like to ask, if the certification hall authorized the certification hall to provide a local private organization certification? This. Deacon Zhao's face changed. He only represented the Azure Sun County's sect certification hall. Working with the 100th Sect Alliance to gain benefits was a personal action. The higher-ups definitely didn't know. Jun Changshao said, hearing Elder Ma's words, I can't help but suspect that Deacon Zhao and the 100th Sect Alliance have some dirty deal. Chapter 103. Deacon Zhao's forehead was covered in cold sweat, he no longer had the arrogance and coldness from before. If news of him making an agreement with the 100 Sect Alliance and receiving benefits were to spread to the headquarters, losing his deacon position would be a small matter, but being held accountable would be a big matter. Deacon Zhao quickly realized that the arrival of the Grey Mountain Sect Elder had something to do with Jun Changshao, so he hurriedly smiled. Sect Leader Jun, this Xiao will now certify you an iron bone. No, no, no. Jun Changshao said, my iron bone is only a low-grade sect, we don't have the 100 Sect Alliance's certification, how can we be qualified to certify a sect? Deacon Zhao's face turned ugly as if he had eaten a fly. Elder Ma coldly said, as the person in charge of the sect certification center, shouldn't you abide by the rules of fairness? You need the 100 Sect Alliance to provide a certification, this is too absurd. The last 5 words were sonorous and forceful, shaking Deacon Zhao's heart to the point that his legs started to spin. This was an elder of the 5 flowing Grey Mountain sect, not to mention the headquarters, even if it was a branch, he would definitely end up in a miserable state. Seeing this fellow's pale face, Jun Changshao thought to himself, if I don't step on you like a dog, how can I face my angry disciples? Pa! Suddenly, Deacon Zhao raised his hand and really slapped his own face, smiling flatteringly. Sect Leader Jun, my head was squashed by the door just now, please be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to my level. This works too. Li Qingyang and the rest's mouths twitched. If he was still as arrogant as before, perhaps they would respect him a little, but now that he had turned into a dog wagging its tail, it was disgusting to look at him. Deacon Zhao, you're too gentle. Jun Changshao lightly said. Pa! Deacon Zhao slapped his own face again, this time with a lot of strength. A bright red palm print appeared on the right side of his face. He endured the burning pain and forced himself to smile. Sect Master Jun, are you satisfied now? Not satisfied. Jun Changshao replied. Pa! Pa! Deacon Zhao was also a ruthless person, he slapped both sides of his face, and because he used too much strength, his nose started to bleed. Sect Leader Jun, his face was slightly sinister as he smiled and said, Are you satisfied? Since the other party was fighting with such sincerity, Jun Changshao didn't want to go against him. So, he said indifferently, let's go through the procedure and get certified. Please, please. Deacon Zhao endured the pain, bringing him and the rest of the Iron Bone disciples to the back of the sect in the middle of the courtyard in the middle of the Sect Alliance. Sect Master Jun, these are the cultivation testing stones. Please verify them one by one. If you meet the requirements, your sect can be upgraded. What requirements? 5 disciples have reached a strength value of more than 2,300 gene. Oh. Jun Changshao understood. This so-called cultivation testing stone was actually the same as the strength testing machine sold in the store. Li Fei, go and take the test. Sect Li Fei was the first to walk over. He scratched his head and asked, Sect Leader, should we use our fists or our feet? Deacon de deacon. Deacon de deacon. Understood. Li Fei raised his foot and suddenly kicked over. This action was similar to playing a happy football. Boom, he kicked the testing stone. Elder Ma, who had followed along, inwardly commented, his chassis is solid and he didn't use any spiritual power. He should have trained hard. The strength of this kick must have reached the required level, Ka. Suddenly, he stopped thinking and a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. This was because a number was gradually appearing on the testing stone. The content was 3,000 genes. This. Deacon Zhao was also dumbfounded. As the person in charge of the sect certification hall in Qingyang City, he had seen many disciples test their strength, but this was the first time he had seen someone who could kick a force of 3,000 gene with just his physical body. AI. Li Fei shook his head. I'm not used to it. Little Mo, yes. Su Xiaoma walked up and gave a kick as well, exerting a force of 3,500 kilograms. Then, he shrugged and said helplessly, as expected, I'm not used to it. The corners of Elder Ma and Deacon Zhao's mouths twitched. The two disciples each gave a kick. The purest physical strength was comparable to a second-grade martial disciple. This was simply inconceivable. Next up was Lu Qianqian. She gently hit the testing stone with her jade-like palm, displaying a force of 2,000 genes. It was obvious that she didn't use her full strength. Li Qingyang walked up and poured spiritual power into his fist. He suddenly punched the testing stone, and the strength displayed was 5,000 genes. Boom! Tian Qi also punched the testing stone. He didn't use any spiritual power, and the force of his punch was 3,200 genes. Elder Ma and Deacon Zhao's eyes opened wider and wider. These iron bone disciples were only first-grade martial disciples, but each of them could exert a force of more than 3,000 genes. This was simply terrifying. Deacon Zhao. Jun Changshao said, "Our 5 disciples all meet the requirements. Can we be certified as an 8th-rate sect?" Deacon Zhao came back to his senses and hurriedly said politely, "According to the certification rules, your sect still needs 5 disciples who have reached the 12th stage of the channel opening realm." Oh. Jun Changshao waved his hand. Zhang Wei and the other 3 disciples who had broken through to the martial disciple realm were tested in order. The result was that without exception, all of them had a strength of more than 3,000 genes. Other than Lu Qianqian and Li Qingyang, the other iron bone disciples were all middle-grade spiritual roots. Naturally, it was also because of their training and the body-shaping pill that they were able to produce a strength value that was close to the standard. Elder Ma and Deacon Zhao felt a little dizzy. A few disciples who could produce a strength value of a second-grade martial disciple could be explained by innate divine power. So many disciples produced a strength value of 3,000 genes. Could it be that they all had innate divine power? It wasn't innate, but acquired. Sect leader Jun, Elder Ma looked at Xiao Ziji and said, "Is your disciple not going to be tested?" Jun Changshao said, "Zue Ji, go up and punch for Elder Ma to see." Yes. Xiao Ziji handed the sniper rifle wrapped in cloth to Su Xiaomu. He stepped in front of the testing stone, took a deep breath, and punched it. His strength value was 4,600 genes. Elder Ma's eyes widened and his mouth gaped open. His eyes were filled with shock. This kid's body didn't emit any spiritual energy. He was able to produce a strength value of 5,000 genes with pure physical strength. This was absolutely terrifying. Zueji. Deacon Zhao thought of something and said in surprise, "Could it be that he's Xiao Ziji, the Xiao family's direct descendant who won the martial arts competition?" Jun Changshao said indifferently, "Please remove the Xiao family's direct descendant and change it to Iron Bone disciples." "Thank you." "Understood, understood." Deacon Zhao hurriedly said. Elder Ma exclaimed, "So he's the champion of the martial arts competition that just ended. No wonder he's so strong." He had also heard about the Iron Bone disciples monopolizing the top 4 spots in the martial arts competition in Song Mountain Sect. He had even discussed it with the sect leader and the higher-ups. Sect leader Jun, Elder Ma cupped his hands and said, "These people have all become dragons among men under your guidance." This was the truth and not flattery. After all, a group of disciples with average aptitudes could be trained to such a level by the Iron Bone sect leader. Even Song Mountain Sect would find it difficult to do so. Not only Song Mountain Sect, but even if it was a higher-level sect, it would be impossible to train a group of people with average aptitudes to become first-grade martial disciples and have a higher level of combat strength. Of course, the higher-level sects wouldn't accept them because it was a complete waste of time and resources. Jun Changshao thought differently. He wanted to train these disciples who were regarded as trash in the eyes of the higher-level sects, because it was very challenging. Chapter 104. The requirement to become an 8th-rate sect was to have 5 martial disciples and 5 12th-stage channel opening cultivators. The disciples brought by Jun Changshao, including Xiao Ziji, who had no cultivation, all displayed strength that far exceeded the minimum requirement. Therefore, passing the certification was a smooth affair. Sect Master June, on the counter, Attendant Zhao handed over a token with the word 8 engraved on it and said with a smile, "Congratulations to your sect for becoming an 8th-rate sect." Even if there were no elders of Tsang Mountain sect present, he would still act respectfully. After all, the strength displayed by the group of disciples was too valiant. Iron Bone's future was limitless. Ding! Congratulations to the host for upgrading the sect to an 8th-rate sect. The reward is 100 achievement points and 200 contribution points. Ding! Sect achievement points, 100500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 355500. Damn! When the sect was upgraded, it even gave achievement points and contribution points. Jun Changshao was pleasantly surprised. Actually, when he first heard that a sect needed to be certified, he had rejected it. Now that he received achievement points and contribution points, he felt great and wonderful. The system said, the higher the sect's grade, the higher the reward. Jun Changshao's eyes burned with passion and said, "Attendant Zhao, what are the requirements for upgrading from an 8th-rate sect to a 7th-rate sect?" Attendant Zhao hurriedly said, "Sect Master needs to become a martial master. The number of disciples must be at least 50 martial disciples and 500 12th-stage channel opening cultivators." That many? Jun Changshao frowned. The upper limit of a sect's disciples was only 500. It seemed that in order to upgrade to a 7th-rate sect, not only did he need to raise the cultivation of all the disciples, he also needed to upgrade the sect to a 3rd-rate sect. The 9th-rate sect on the system panel changed to an 8th-rate sect. Sect Master June received 100 achievement points and 200 contribution points. He walked out of the certification hall in a good mood. 8th-rate sect token. Heavens, Iron Bone actually upgraded. Unbelievable, unbelievable. When the passers-by saw the 8th-rate sect token hanging on Jun Changxiao's waist, their eyes were filled with shock. More than 2 months ago, Iron Bone's sect was just an obscure trash sect in the eyes of the world. The first-generation sect leader was even beheaded because he went to a brothel and became a laughingstock. In just a few short days, under the leadership of the second-generation sect master, not only did the sect rapidly expand, it even went from the 9th rate to the 8th rate. Many people felt that this was unreal, as if they were dreaming. Sect Master June. The elder of the Tsang Mountain sect cupped his hands and said, "This Ma still has things to deal with. If you have time in the future, please come to my Tsang Mountain sect for a chat." It sounded like polite words, but many cultivators were envious. After all, not everyone was qualified to hear such polite words from a 5th-rate sect's elder. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said, "When I have time, I will definitely pay a visit to Tsang Mountain sect. Goodbye." Goodbye. Elder Ma left, but on the way, he thought to himself, to be able to bring a group of ordinary youths to such a stage, this child is really not simple. If we meet again in the future, this Iron Bone clan will probably become even stronger. For a group of disciples to be able to produce such a terrifying strength value, Elder Ma would definitely not look down on them. After the sect certification, Jun Changshao brought his disciples to the market and entered a crystal core shop, starting to choose crystal cores of various grades. Considering that the higher the grade of the crystal core, the greater the recoil of the bullet, he focused his attention on crystal cores of the 4th or 5th grade. After a round of selection, Jun Changshao chose 2 crystal cores of the 7th grade and 50 crystal cores of the 5th grade, which were similar to the Earth Fire Wolf King's crystal core. The shopkeeper smiled and said, "Sect Master Jun, 2 crystal cores of the 7th grade are 20,000 taels, 50 crystal cores of the 5th grade are 150,000 taels. The total is 170,000 taels. Oh my God, so expensive." The disciples who followed him and opened their eyes wide. 170,000 taels, to them, they would never dream of it. Jun Changshao took out banknotes and slammed them on the counter, saying, "I'll buy it." Seeing so much money, the iron-boned disciple felt dizzy and secretly said, "Our sect master is really rich." After buying the pills, Jun Changshao went to the medicine market again. In the end, he only found a few healing pills and brought his disciples back to the sect. On the way, he unloaded the bullets of the Type 88 sniper rifle and reloaded them into the Earthfire Wolf King's crystal core. He used the crystal cores of the 5th grade to reload 10 bullets. Arriving at a deserted place, Jun Changshao pointed at the hornet's nest hanging on the tree in front of him and said, "Xin Ji, shoot it down." "Yes." Xiao Ziji found a spot, propped up a stand, and then used the gun to calibrate the target. In the process, Li Qingyang and the others had already retreated more than 10 meters away. Sect Master Jun also retreated and secretly said, "Replacing the 7th grade with a 5th grade, the recoil shouldn't be too big." Peng, while thinking, Xiao Ziji, after calibrating, decisively pulled the trigger. The muzzle of the gun spat out a stream of light, and then accurately shattered the hornet's nest. From the sound of the gunshot and the stream of light, it was obviously inferior to the condensed bullet of the 7th grade. Definitely. The higher the level of the crystal core, the stronger the condensed bullet. Although the power was much weaker, the recoil only shook Xiao Ziji half a meter away, and his shoulder only felt a slight numbness. Lu Qianqian said indifferently, "The power of this attack, even a 7th or 8th grade martial disciple with their spirit power fully activated might not be able to withstand it." "Is that so?" Jun Changshao smiled with satisfaction, "Not bad, not bad." Xiao Ziji stood up, rubbed his shoulders, and grinned, "Sect Master, this disciple should be fine after a while to adapt." Saying this, his smile suddenly froze. "What's wrong?" Jun Changshao and the other disciples followed his gaze. They saw a group of hornets gathered at the place where the hornet's nest was broken. Their bodies flashed with red light, and there was a buzzing sound. "Not good." Li Qingyang said in shock, "It's the poisonous hornet." Poisonous hornet. A small group of ferocious beasts. Although their level was low, their group attack power was very strong. Not to mention a martial disciple, even a martial master might not dare to provoke them. Li Qingyang had just opened his mouth when Sect Master Jun had already taken a big step forward, and shouted, "Why are you still standing there foolishly? Run!" Swish! Swish! The disciples hurriedly followed in a panic. Buzz buzz. The hornet swarm suddenly rushed over. Their stingers flashed, and their small eyes were filled with anger. "Aya!" Tian Qi screamed, "My butt!" "Ah!" Li Fei was chased by dozens of hornets. He hugged his head and fled, and even released his spirit power to isolate the attack. In the end, he was still hit by the omnipresent stingers. Su Xiaoma ran the fastest. However, the hornets that flew over could shoot their stingers, and in an instant, they pierced his butt, and there was a scream of, "Ah!" Dusk came. The group returned to the sect. Except for Lu Qianqian, the other disciples were all stung by the hornets. Especially Xiao Ziji. His lips were stung, and were swollen like 2 sausages. Jun Changshao was also stung, and it was on his eyelids. The bulging bumps almost squeezed his eyes into a line. "Sect Master." Li Qingyang covered his stung butt, and collapsed. Next time, don't let junior brother Xiao hit the hornet's nest. Chapter 105. With enough crystal cores, Xiao Ziji returned to the sect and spent more time practicing his marksmanship. He even hid in the bushes at the back of the mountain all night, waiting for animals to appear at night. Shooting stationary targets was nothing. The best marksmanship was shooting moving targets. Bang! Bang! In the middle of the night, gunshots could be heard occasionally. In the study, Jun Changshao was not in the mood to sleep. He continued to refresh the shop. Now that he had 355 contribution points, he could use them to his heart's content for a while. Ding! Contribution points, 345500. After the refresh, an item called Magically Modified Shoulder Guard appeared in the list of items that were displayed. He clicked on the details. Item, Magically Modified Shoulder Guard. Effect, after wearing it, it can form a defense around the shoulder. It can counteract the recoil of magically modified rifles and sniper rifles to a large extent. Effectiveness, bring it and use it immediately. Price, 20 contribution points. Jun Changshao murmured, counteract recoil. This is good stuff. Without hesitation, he bought it. Ding. Host has spent 20 contribution points. Magically Modified Shoulder Guard X1. It has been transferred to the interspatial ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 325500. Jun Changshao continued to refresh, but his luck was very bad. He did not get anything good and was forced to spend 10 contribution points to buy an extreme skipping rope. He refreshed again. Ding. Contribution points, 295500. The item that appeared this time was not bad. There was a high-level mortal martial skill called Rupturing Fist. Although its level was low, the Iron Bones sect was in urgent need of martial skills. Therefore, Jun Changshao still spent 10 contribution points to buy it. Ding. Contribution points, 285500. Ding. Detected that host has purchased a fist martial skill from the shop. It is automatically matched with the sect's martial skill. The words Rupturing Fist, High-Level Mortal Martial Skill, appeared on the system's data panel. It meant that the disciple could practice it. Jun Changshao made 1,000 copies and murmured, level 10 and above meridian opening can practice it. I'll send it to the disciples tomorrow. The next day. Under the influence of the divine music, the disciples finished their morning exercises happily. Then, each of them received a secret manual of the exploding fist, which made them even happier. Jun Changshao gave the magically modified shoulder pads to Xiao Ziji and gave the extreme jump rope to Su Xiaoma. Thank you, Sect Master. The two said. Xiao Ziji put on the shoulder pads and arrived at the back of the mountain. He held up the Type 88 sniper rifle and pulled the trigger. But he only heard a bang sound. His body only trembled a little, but he did not fall back. So powerful. His eyes widened. As he spoke, he stood up and retracted his kickstand. Then, he raised his gun and said, "It shouldn't be a problem to stand and fight, right?" Boom, he pulled the trigger again, and the moment the bullet flew out, Xiao Zuiji was pushed back a few meters. He then staggered and stabilized his body. He grimaced and said, "It hurts." Without the support of a kickstand, the recoil of the Type 88 sniper rifle would definitely be greater. Fortunately, he had the magically modified shoulder pads. Otherwise, if he fired a shot, he would probably end up hanging from the southeast branch. On the training field. Su Xiaoma held the extreme jump rope and said, "Sect Master gave me this. Do you want me to jump rope?" Schwa. As he spoke, he jumped down. Then, his arms began to spin on their own, and his legs began to shake uncontrollably as well. Schwa. 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 His speed increased and light flashed. Damn. The disciples gathered around and said in surprise, "Senior brother Su is jumping so fast." Half an hour later, the frequency of jumping rope decreased and then it stopped. Thump. Su Xiaoma's legs trembled and his whole body collapsed on the ground. His eyes rolled back and white foam came out of his mouth. The extreme jump rope was used to train the strength of the legs. Once the user jumped, it would force the user to jump for an hour. The disciples continued to train as usual. Jun Changshao was also immersed in his training. Occasionally, he would take a qi-gathering pill to increase the speed of his spiritual energy absorption. A few days later, his realm went from level 7 to level 8. If he meets a beast like the Earth Fire Wolf King again, he won't even need to use a gun. He can tear it apart with his bare hands. Inside the training room, Jun Changshao focused his spiritual energy on his right arm and used the rupturing fist that he learned. With a bang sound, he hit the testing machine. The strength displayed was 23,000 pounds. TSK Tisk, it actually increased by 300 pounds, after breaking through to level 8 martial disciple, without relying on spiritual energy. His physical strength is around 20,000. After using the rupturing fist, it increased by 300 pounds. The system said, this is only common rank. If there is a higher rank martial skill, the host's strength will increase even more. Jun Changshao also wants to train a higher rank martial skill, but he needs to rely on his luck to get one. Bang! Suddenly, a gunshot came from the outer courtyard. Jun Changshao hurriedly went out and saw the Type 88 sniper rifle on the newly built watchtower. There was a wisp of smoke coming out of the muzzle. What happened? He said in a low voice. Xiao Ziji stood on the watchtower, pointed at the direction of the gun and said, Sect Master, a black-clothed man tried to sneak in and was shot by this disciple. Jun Changshao hurriedly went out of the sect. Sure enough, a few hundred meters away, he saw a black-clothed man lying on the grass. His chest was pierced and blood flowed out. He couldn't be more dead. This assassin was moving at high speed, but he was killed by Xiao Ziji in one shot. It can be seen that his marksmanship is very accurate. Unfortunately, I didn't trigger a side quest. Jun Changshao shook his head, took the other person's interspatial ring and burned it with the exquisite fire. Drizzle building, you guys are really diligent. With Xiao Ziji on guard, Jun Changshao doesn't need to open the Sect protection formation every night. He can save some contribution points. Sect Master. The next day, Li Qingyang came to see him. These few days, 4 more junior brothers have broken through to martial disciple. This disciple has already distributed the self-severing manual to them. How's Xing Chen's cultivation? Jun Changshao asked. As the sect master, he must be concerned about the growth of every disciple. Li Qingyang said, yesterday, I saw junior brother Yi testing in the training room. There were 7 flashes of light on his wrist. He should have broken through to channel opening stage 7. So fast. Jun Changshao was surprised. Calculating the time, Yi Xingqian joined the Iron Bones sect for less than a month, but he has already broken through from channel opening stage 1 to channel opening stage 7. His speed is much faster than the other disciples. Li Qingyang said seriously, Sect Master, junior brother Yi is not simple. Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and smiled. This person's eyes are full of vicissitudes, as if he has experienced many things. That's why I forced him to join the sect. Li Qingyang said, junior brother Yi is a loner and doesn't fit in with the other junior brothers. This disciple is worried that when his cultivation becomes stronger, he will not be content. Jun Changshao interlocked his fingers and smiled, don't worry, even if that guy breaks through to Martial Emperor, I will still be able to subdue him. As the sect master, if he can't deal with a troublesome disciple, how can he be the sect master? He might as well kill himself and scatter flowers. Sect master. At this moment, Su Xiaomo ran in, gasping for breath, there's someone outside. They say it's Murong Xian from the Murong family. What? Jun Changshao and Li Qingyang were shocked. A few days ago, they were still talking about her. Who would have thought that she would come today? Is it because of Xiao Ziji? They don't come with good intentions. Jun Changshao frowned. Chapter 106. Outside the sect, a 16-year-old girl in blue stood there. Her skin was as white as snow, her figure was slender, her face was oval-shaped, and her eyebrows were like willow leaves. In terms of appearance and temperament, she was not weaker than Lu Qianqian. Murong Xian. A direct descendant of the Murong family in Sky Sea City. She had a top-grade spirit root and was the direct disciple of the 11th elder of the Lily Holy Sect. Her other identity was Xiao Ziji's ex-fiancé. This kind of beautiful and talented girl appeared in front of the Iron Bone sect, which was unexpected. Murong Xen gently raised her head, her eyes looked at the man standing on the sentry post in the distance, and whispered, "It's really him." Some time ago, she went back to Sky Sea City to visit her relatives. She heard that her ex-fiancé participated in the martial arts competition in Azure Sun County and won the championship. This time, when she returned to the sect, she specially came to take a look. Xiao Ziji also looked at Murong Xen, and said with a sullen face, "Why is this woman here?" The memory of 5 years ago appeared. It was in the hall of the Xiao family, in front of all the clansmen, accompanied by the elders of the Lily Holy Sect. Murong Xen said faintly, "I'm here to break off the engagement." The cold and proud words were like a sharp arrow that deeply pierced Xiao Ziji's heart, making him feel pain every time he thought of it during the 5 years of wandering. Xiao Ziji had no feelings for his ex-fiancée. After all, they were engaged before they were born, and he only saw her once when he was young. But a woman came to break off the engagement, and in public, it was undoubtedly the same as ruthlessly trampling on his dignity. He could accept that a genius became a waste. He could also accept that he was expelled from the family. But he couldn't accept that when he was in trouble, even his fiancée came to kick him into the abyss. Seeing Murong Xen again and thinking of her proud face, Xiao Ziji really wanted to move the muzzle of the 88 sniper rifle and pull the trigger. Creak. At this time, the red door opened, and Su Xiaoma waved his hand and said, "Miss Murong, please come in." Murong Xen frowned, "Your sect master, won't you personally welcome me?" His voice was filled with arrogance. He had the right to be arrogant. After all, with his status as a direct descendant of the Murong clan, he would be welcomed by the higher-ups of the various sects in Azure Sun County. Even the Five Streams Green Mountain sect had to be courteous to the Lily Holy Sect. "Oh, shit. This woman is quite arrogant, huh?" Su Xiaoma unhappily said, "Miss Murong, you're only a direct descendant of the Murong family. Why would my family's head personally welcome you?" Clan head and sect head, their statuses were equal. When a direct descendant of the clan came to visit, there was nothing wrong with the sect leader not coming out to welcome him. "Are you entering or not?" Su Xiaoma said impatiently, "If you don't enter, I'll close the door." "Humph," Murong Xen snorted coldly and walked in. Her eyebrows were filled with anger. She thought to herself, a ninth-rate sect really thinks too highly of themselves. After walking in, she saw the spacious outer courtyard and the magnificent main hall. A trace of surprise flashed in her eyes as she said, "This iron bone is quite imposing." It's just that, looking at the disciples cultivating in the martial arts field, she disdainfully said, "Mediocre talent, low cultivation. No matter how luxurious the sect is, it's just a low-level existence." From this woman's arrogant behavior, it was enough to prove that Jun Changxiao's guess was right. She came with ill intentions. In the main hall, Murong Xen walked in and saw a young man in white sitting at the head of the table. She said lightly, "You're the head of the Iron Bone sect?" "That's right." Jun Changxiao put his elbows on the armrest and clasped his fingers together. He smiled and said, "I've long heard that my disciple has an extremely beautiful fiancée. Seeing you today, you really live up to your reputation." Li Qingyang's mouth twitched. "My dear sect head, you mentioned the word fiancée. Aren't you deliberately provoking her?" As expected. Murong Xen's pretty face suddenly became cold. She said, "Sect head Jun, I've already broken the engagement with Xiao Ziji. Please don't joke about it." "That's right, that's right." Jun Changxiao patted his forehead and pretended to remember. He said, "I forgot. My disciple and Miss Murong are no longer engaged. Sigh, I'm old and my memory is not good. It was an embarrassing and clumsy performance." "Miss Murong." Jun Changxiao went back to the topic. He said, "Why have you come to the Iron Bone sect this time?" "Nothing." Murong Xian said lightly, I heard that Sect head Jun's disciple took the top 4 places in the Sect's martial arts competition. I've come to see if there's anything special. Jun Changshao said, I see. Qingyang, call your junior brother Xiao over. Let him accompany Miss Murong and take a good look at the Iron Bone Sect. Li Qingyang was a bit depressed. Sect head Xiao Ziji appeared at the door of the main hall. He said, I'm here. In the peach forest at the back of the mountain. Murong Xian stood in front of a peach tree. Her white fingers gently touched the peach blossoms on the branches. Xiao Ziji squatted on a rock. The Type 88 sniper rifle was wrapped in a black cloth and placed next to him. The gun never left his side. The woman's beauty was unparalleled. The man was handsome. It was as if they were a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, under the beautiful scene, there was a solemn atmosphere. After a long time, Murong Xian put her hands behind her back and looked at Xiao Ziji. She said, You haven't opened your meridians yet? Her tone was much calmer. It was not as arrogant as before. Xiao Ziji said lightly, Miss Murong, whether I open my meridians or not, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Murong Xian was silent for a moment. She changed the topic and said, I told Grandpa that I wanted to break off the engagement. But he didn't agree. So don't blame me for going to the Xiao family to break off the engagement. And, she paused and said, I really didn't know that your spirit root and cultivation would regress. I also didn't know your situation in the Xiao family at that time. Xiao Ziji said lightly, It happened a long time ago. You don't have to explain it to me. Murong Xian picked a peach blossom and touched the petals. She said, In these 5 years, everyone thought that I, Murong Xian, went to the Xiao family to break off the engagement because my fiancé lost his aptitude and cultivation. As she said that, she threw a bottle of pills over. There are 10 unblocking meridians pills that can increase the chances of opening meridians. Just treat it as compensation for the impulsive me when I was young. Are you pitying me? Xiao Ziji said. Murong Xian didn't say anything. Xiao Ziji said self-deprecatingly, You, Murong Xian, are a proud daughter of heaven. I, Xiao Ziji, am now just a waste. Naturally, I can't afford it. Please take away the unblocking meridians pills. Xiao, the happy football shot over and directly hit his face. Then came Jun Changxiao's scolding. Stand up for me. Swish. Xiao Ziji got up, clenched his fists, and said word by word, Murong Xian, the humiliation you gave me 5 years ago, sooner or later, Xiao Ziji, will go to the Lily Holy Sect to get it back. Add a deadline. Jun Changxiao's voice came. 10 years. Too long. 9, okay, 3 years it is. Xiao Ziji, Murong Xian raised her black hair and said with a smile, 3 years later, you will come to the Lily Holy Sect to find me? Yes. Xiao Ziji's eyes were cold. 3 years later, I will bring the divorce letter to the Lily Holy Sect and tell everyone that it was I, Xiao Ziji, who divorced you, not you, Murong Xian. Murong Xian was startled. She saw an unprecedented determination in this man's eyes. Even when she first met him, he didn't have this kind of determination. 3 years, huh? Murong Xian said lightly, Okay, I will wait for you at the Lily Holy Sect. After saying that, she turned and left. The broken peach blossoms fluttered, and the petals gradually separated in midair. It seemed to represent that the once perfect couple had completely parted ways today. Miss Murong. Jun Changxiao's voice echoed in the back mountain. Forgive me for not seeing you off. Chapter 107. After Murong Xian left, Xiao Zui placed the meridian unlocking pill on a rock, as if she regretted her impulsiveness or took pity on him. He did not want it because he did not want to accept a gift from a woman who had hurt him. Jun Changshao walked over and put the pills into his spatial ring without any trace of politeness. He said, 3 years. Work hard on your cultivation. Sect leader. Xiao Ziji said, I have nothing to do with her anymore. Do I have to go to Lily Saint Sect in 3 years? Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, Zue Ji, you're fighting for your dignity now. You're not going to prove that you're better than her in the future. You're just going to tell her that she must take back what she lost with her own hands. What I lost? Xiao Ziji muttered. What did he lose? Dignity. A man's dignity. Xiao Ziji clenched his fists and said with a firm gaze, Sect leader, I understand. I will train hard, not to prove that I am better than others, but to take back what I lost with my own hands. Work hard, young man. Jun Changshao said. Returning to the main hall, he leaned back on the chair. Zue Ji, your agreement with Murong Xian is actually a kind of spur to you to become stronger. I hope you will not disappoint me. Helping his disciple set a 3-year agreement, although it was suspected that he was going to slap Murong Xian's face, but more importantly, it was to set a goal for him, a goal that he had to constantly strive for. For example, to become rich, he had to earn 100 million. Sigh. Jun Changshao stretched, training a disciple is indeed not an easy thing. As he spoke, he took out the meridian unlocking pill and muttered, it can increase the chances of opening meridians? This pill seems pretty good. The system said, host can decompose and refine it from Medicine Refinery Pavilion, or obtain the pill formula. There is such a function. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the system's data panel and opened Medicine Refinery Pavilion. Under the 4 types of pills, a line of words appeared out of thin air. The content was Meridian Unlocking Pill, decomposable. Decompose. Ding. Host decomposed pill, 10 contribution points consumed. Ding. Sect contribution points, 265,500. As expected, as long as the system reminded him out of kindness, he would have to spend some contribution points. Ding. Decomposition successful. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Meridian Opening Pill formula. The Meridian Unlocking Pill appeared on the panel of the Alchemy Pavilion. After clicking on it, 4 types of medicinal herbs appeared. Rubbing his nose, Jun Changshao smiled. Using 10 contribution points to decipher the formula of the Meridian Unlocking Pill. This is definitely a profit. With the addition of the Meridian Unlocking Pill to the Medicine Refinery Pavilion, it was a step closer to perfection. Of course, he needed materials to refine it. Therefore, Jun Changshao decided to make a trip to Huyang City in 2 days. Right now, the most important thing is how to open sinful self's meridians. There was ultimately a limit to the strength of the body. Xiao Ziji had to open his meridians and condense his spirit energy in order to go further. Otherwise, how could he carry a gun and fight with others all day long? It wasn't impossible. However, with the help of spiritual energy, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, we have to figure out why this kid can't cultivate. That's right. We can buy an aptitude modification liquid and let him consume it. Forcefully raise his spiritual root from a low-grade to a mortal-grade spiritual root. Maybe he can open his main meridians. As soon as he thought of it, Jun Changshao directly selected the aptitude-modifying liquid suitable for low-grade spiritual roots. Ding! The host has spent 50 contribution points and obtained the aptitude modification liquid X1. It has been transferred to the spatial ring. Ding! Sect contribution points, 215500. In order to make the disciple stronger, in order to regain his lost dignity after 3 years, Sect leader Jun was really giving it his all. In the training room, Xiao Ziji held the aptitude modification liquid. After knowing the effects, he was stunned on the spot. After a long time, he said in disbelief, Sect leader, after drinking it, can it really raise the aptitude of the spiritual root? Jun Changshao said, "Stop talking nonsense and drink it quickly." Pa, Xiao Ziji opened the bottle and raised his head without hesitation. He drank the malt-flavored medicine and the meridians in his body seemed to be burning. Huff huff huff. He breathed heavily, and his exposed skin gradually turned red, like a piece of charcoal that had been burned red. What's going on? Jun Changshao was stunned. He had drunk a few bottles and this had never happened. Could it be that this kid had an allergic reaction after drinking it? The system said, this is the aptitude modification liquid condensing spiritual energy, helping him to raise the spiritual root and gather spiritual energy for breaking through the meridians. Sizzle sizzle. At this moment, Xiao Ziji's red skin began to emit a strange mist. It smelled a little pungent. The system said, this is poisonous gas. Poisonous gas. Jun Changshao took 2 steps back vigilantly. The system said, if I'm not wrong, this disciple of yours should be poisoned. Poisoned? Jun Changshao said solemnly, could it be that this is the reason why he can't cultivate? The poisonous gas in Xiao Ziji's body spread and filled the entire training room. Fortunately, it was only pungent and did not cause any harm. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, there's poison in his body and he can't cultivate. The situation seems to be very clear. Bang! At this moment, a sound came from Xiao Ziji's body. A slightly weak halo gathered around his wrists. This was the sign of a meridian opening. Thump! Thump! Xiao Ziji's heart beat violently, causing his chest to rise and fall. The spreading poisonous gas also seemed to gradually evaporate under the heat of his body. As for the halo gathered around his wrists, it changed from a blurry state to a clear state and finally solidified. 1 meridian opened. Jun Changshao said happily. Just as he finished speaking, a second halo appeared on Xiao Ziji's wrists. Obviously, the spiritual energy in his body had already opened a second main meridian. An hour later, the poisonous gas in the training room completely dissipated. Everything returned to normal. Xiao Ziji was as tall and straight as a mountain. For resplendent lights gathered around his wrists. After taking the aptitude modification liquid, his spirit root had risen from low grade to common grade. The increase in aptitude had stimulated his meridians, allowing him to break through to the 4th stage of meridian opening in one go. Sect. Sect Master. Looking at the spiritual halo that hadn't appeared for 5 years, Xiao Ziji's hands trembled violently. His voice was nearly hoarse as he said, Disciple opened his meridians, not bad. Jun Changshao said, you opened your meridians. Xiao Ziji closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He tried his best to control his emotions, but tears still gathered in his eyes uncontrollably. Swish. Suddenly, his knees bent. But before he could kneel, Jun Changshao held him up and said, use your future strength to spread the might of my iron bone. This is the best way to thank me. Stand up. Swish. Xiao Ziji straightened his bent knees and wiped away the tears on his cheeks. He said loudly, Disciple Xiao Ziji will definitely not disappoint Sect Master. In the future, I will strengthen the name of my iron bone and spread the might of my iron bone. Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, I have high hopes for you. Ding! The first 100 disciples have successfully opened their meridians. Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden mission, Reaching Heights. The reward is 50 contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 265500. Jun Changshao walked out of the training room. He was speechless as he thought to himself, the first 100 disciples have successfully opened their meridians? If Xiao Ziji didn't open his meridians, would he never be able to complete it? The system said, yes. This hidden mission is really fucked up. Chapter 108. Even though Xiao Ziji's meridians were opened, what Jun Changshao didn't understand was it because of the poison that caused his realm to regress, causing him to be unable to gather spirit energy? The system said, from the poisonous gas just now, it should be caused by poison. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin. It's understandable that the poison would cause his realm to regress, but how could a supreme-grade spirit root regress? If the poison in his body can suppress his spirit root, now that it has been removed, he should have recovered, not just opened 4 meridians. He rubbed his temples. Yuan Fang, what do you think about this? The system, Jun Changshao said, I'm asking you, say something. The system then realized that Yuan Fang was referring to itself, so it said, Falling Star Continent is a mysterious world, maybe there are poisons that can suppress cultivation and spirit root. The poison is removed, but why didn't his spirit root and cultivation recover? Jun Changshao asked. The system was silent for a while, then said, maybe there's more than one type of poison in his body. What the host removed was only the poison that suppressed his cultivation, but there's also the poison that suppressed his spirit root. That's possible. Jun Changshao was silent. If that's the case, who would be so vicious as to use 2 types of poison to destroy Xiao Ziji, who was supposed to be a genius? The Xiao family's elder. Jun Changshao thought of the Xiao family's head elder who was filled with killing intent towards Xiao Ziji during the sect competition. And that group of assassins outside Liang City, who sent them? He held his head, saying, damn, I feel like my IQ isn't enough. Yuan Fang, are there any products that can develop brain power? The system said, no. After Xiao Ziji successfully opened his meridians, he temporarily gave up on spear practice and spent the whole night running Yi Jin Jing, gathering spirit energy around him. Even though he only had a mortal-grade spirit root, and the absorption was far from the supreme-grade spirit root, he was satisfied. After all, it was much better than not being able to gather spirit energy. Spirit energy entered his body, spreading and gathering along his meridians. Xiao Ziji once again found that refreshing feeling of cultivation. Of course. He also knew that everything was given to him by the sect leader. In this life, he was willing to serve the Iron Bone clan. Lily Holy Sect. In another disciple's room, Yi Xingchen finished his cultivation and said disdainfully, back when I dominated the Falling Star Continent, we were only a 5th-rate sect. Sigh. Our Lord Knight Darch is still immersed in the past and unable to come out. Who? He exhaled and murmured, the Taixien Sutra is truly profound. I've studied it for so long, but I've only comprehended the first layer. Fortunately, I have the assistance of the body metamorphosis scripture. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for me to break through to the 7th level of the channel opening realm in such a short period of time. He really had to thank him properly. Without Yi Jin Jing's 50% meridian opening rate, with Night Emperor's current aptitude, it would have taken him a long time to achieve it. I can't just focus on cultivation. I have to combine it with actual combat. Tomorrow, I'll go to the forest with ferocious beasts to gain some experience. The next day, Night Emperor told his idea to Jun Changshao. After some consideration, the latter said, go with your senior martial brother Xiao. We can take care of each other. Him? He's just trash. Although Yi Xingchen was very conflicted, he still agreed on the surface. After all, he was now an Iron Bone disciple. Just like that, a powerhouse was reborn, and a genius turned into a waste. They set out to leave the sect and begin the essential wilderness training that should only be done by the protagonist. Xiao Ziji brought along his Type 88 sniper rifle. Not only did he have to practice in actual combat, but he also had to take advantage of the opportunity to hunt for cores to make up for the sect leader's previous losses. Our sect leader Jun handed over the sect's affairs to Li Qingyang and set out for Huyang City. Sect leader Lu Wanshe stood at the entrance of the dining hall and shouted, bring back some seasoning. Understood. When Jun Changshao arrived at Huyang City again, he found that it was much more lively than last time. Occasionally, he would meet martial artists with weapons. Can't the AI clan hurry up? They have to wait a month before auctioning it. The AI clan can refine this kind of healing pill that can instantly heal injuries. They even put it up for auction. What's the big deal about waiting a period of time? I heard that several large clans and sects have sent people over. Poor people like us can only stand on the sidelines and watch the competition between them. The martial artists on the road discussed incessantly. Obviously, they were all foreigners who had gathered in the city to wait for the AI clan to auction the healing pills for the second time. Many clans and sects had gathered their strength. Once the pills were put up for auction, they would get it no matter what price they had to pay. It had to be said that the AI clan was very good at doing business. After the first auction and continuous publicity, they had successfully whetted the appetite of the martial artists in the various counties. The auction of the healing pills had nothing to do with Jun Changshao. He was also too lazy to show his face in public. Therefore, he went to the market first and bought a lot of seasoning before entering the AI clan's medicine shop. Shopkeeper Ma, who was paying the bill at the counter, saw Jun Changshao walk in. He didn't wait for the servants to greet him. He personally walked out and said with a smile, "Sect leader Jun, we are honored by your presence. Please forgive us for not going out to meet you." Before the first auction, the AI clan master had already ordered that the Iron Bone sect leader was a VIP of the AI clan. If he came to the shop, they must not neglect him. Jun Changshao said, "Where is the AI clan master? I want to talk to him about a big business deal." Another big business deal? Shopkeeper Ma hurriedly made a gesture of invitation and said, "Sect leader Jun, please take a seat. I will inform the clan master now." As he spoke, he gave the servant a look to serve tea and hurriedly left the shop for the AI clan. Jun Changshao didn't sit down. He went to the medicine rack and looked at the medicinal herbs in the bamboo basket. When he saw something that caught his interest, he raised his hand to touch it. "Don't touch it." Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Jun Changshao turned around and saw a white-haired old man in the corner of the shop holding a small pair of scissors and trimming a potted plant. Crazy old man. The servant in the shop scolded, "This is sect leader Iron Bone sect leader Jun, don't be rude." As he spoke, he hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, "Sect leader Jun, he is a temporary worker who was hired to trim the medicinal herbs a few days ago. He doesn't know the rules. Please don't lower yourself to his level." Jun Changshao curiously asked, "Why can't I touch it?" The old man didn't even raise his head. As he trimmed the medicinal herbs, he said, "That medicinal herb is called rotten leaf grass. Its leaves gather spiritual energy. If a person touches it, the spiritual energy will decay and the medicinal effect will be greatly reduced." TSK, the servant rolled his eyes and said, "I move the rotten leaf grass here and there every day. I come across it many times. Can't I still use it to refine pills?" "You crazy old man are talking nonsense again." Sigh. The old man sighed and said, "It's because of careless people like you. The medicinal herbs that can be used to 100% of their medicinal effect can only be used to 50% or 60% after being refined into pills. It's really sad." Okay. You are so professional. I don't want to talk to you." The servant seemed to have argued with the old man more than once. He didn't continue to argue with him. Instead, he smiled and said, "Sect leader Jun, please look around." Jun Changshao became interested and said, "Senior, you seem to know a lot about medicinal herbs." The old man stood up and said, "Sect leader Jun is the leader of a sect. I can't accept the title of senior. Elders should be respected. I deserve it. Jun Chang smiled. The old man looked surprised and shook his head. The Falling Star continent has always respected martial arts and seniors. This is the first time I've heard of it. Jun Changshao wanted to continue the conversation, but Ai Shang had already rushed over. As soon as he entered the shop, he cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Sect leader Jun, what brings you here?" Chapter 109. In the parlor. Jun Changshao placed the prescription of the meridian opening pill on the table. He clasped his fingers together and smiled. Master AI, how many of these ingredients does your AI clan have? AI Shang glanced at it and pondered for a moment. Sect Master Jun, my AI clan doesn't have many of these 4 ingredients. We only have about 300 of each. I want all of them. Jun Changshao said straightforwardly. The meridian opening pill increased the meridian opening rate, and the body metamorphosis scripture also increased the meridian opening rate. Wouldn't the combination be heaven-defying? Therefore, he had to refine them as soon as possible. AI Shang smiled. Sect Master Jun, please wait a moment. He gave shopkeeper Ma a look, and the latter hurried to the inner courtyard. He then took out a few spatial rings and placed them on the table. The ingredients for the meridian opening pill weren't too precious, so the pharmacy had them in stock. After Jun Changshao inspected the goods, he said, Master AI, name your price. AI Shang said, these ingredients cost a total of 110,000 taels. Sect Master Jun, give me 100,000 taels. If it were any other customer, they definitely wouldn't bargain. But whether or not the AI clan could make a fortune with the healing pill in the future depended on this god of wealth. Jun Changshao said, deal. The two followed the rules and signed. The transaction was completed. Oh right. Jun Changshao pointed at the old man trimming the herbs outside and asked curiously, who is this senior? AI Shang said, a herbalist. Herbalist? Jun Changshao had never heard of it. The original owner lived in Clear Sun Village and later joined the Iron Bone Sect. He rarely went out, so he didn't know much about the continent. AI Shang explained, a herbalist is a profession that cultivates and grows medicinal herbs. I see. Jun Changshao understood, no wonder he knows so much about medicinal herbs. AI Shang shook his head. Sect Master Jun, this person is only a grade 3 herbalist. There are many herbalists who are stronger and more knowledgeable than him. Herbalists also had ranks, similar to martial arts, such as disciple, master, grandmaster, and king. It was the same for alchemists and spirit stones. Grade 3 herbalist. It was very common on the Starfall continent. Compared to other professions, herbalists were relatively common. Their status was not considered noble, and they were even jokingly called herbalists. Of course, without them, it would be hard to meet the huge demand of the Starfall continent just by digging for medicinal herbs in the mountains. Therefore, herbalists were indispensable. Many forces would specially hire herbalists to open up herb gardens, cultivate and plant herbs, and become self-sufficient. A grade 3 alchemist is also an alchemist. Don't look down on me, Master AI. The white-haired old man retorted when he heard AI Shang's words. Aya, you crazy old man, how dare you speak to our family head like that? Are you tired of living? The servant rolled up his sleeves and walked over in an imposing manner. AI Shangdi waved his hand and said, leave. The servant glared at the old man before leaving resentfully. Jun Changshao walked out and said with a smile, Senior, my Iron Bone group is still lacking a herbalist. Are you interested in joining? The old man waved his hand and said, there are plenty of herbalists who are better than this old man. Sect Master Jun, please find someone else. TSK, the servant snorted and muttered, it's your fortune to be chosen by Sect Master Jun. You're actually rejecting him. What a crazy old man. AI Shang smiled and said, Sect Master Jun, my AI family has many herbalists. Most of them are grade 7 or grade 8. If your sect lacks one, I can, Jun Changshao interrupted, just let me have this senior. AI Shang's mouth twitched and said, Sect Master Jun, Elder Wei is only a temporary worker of my AI family. Whether he goes or not, it's up to him. Is that so? Jun Changshao said, Senior, I'm willing to hire you at a high price. Are you willing to go to Iron Bone and take up the position of herbalist? AI Shang was a little confused. Grade 3 alchemists could be found everywhere. There were at least 10 of them in the AI family. Why would Ironbone's Sect Master take a fancy to this crazy old man? Elder Wei said, Sect Master Jun, you really want to hire me as an Ironbone herbalist? That's right. Jun Changshao said. Elder Wei put the scissors on the shelf and said, I've been a herbalist for 60 years now. Only Sect Master Jun is willing to invite me. Jun Changshao said, horses of 1,000 li are common, but a talent scout is hard to find. Talent scout? Elder Wei smiled and said, if Sect Master Jun is sincere, I'm willing to go to Ironbone. But how much is the salary? 10,000 taels a month. Jun Changshao said. AI Shang was stunned. His grade 8 and grade 9 alchemists only earned 10,000 taels a month. A grade 3 alchemist earning 1,000 taels a month was already very high. Elder Wei said, Sect Master Jun is very sincere. Once I return to my family, I'll go to Ironbone with you. Jun Changshao said, AI family head, it shouldn't be a problem for me to take this person with me, right? No problem, no problem. South of the city, in a deep alley. Jun Changshao followed Elder Wei to his residence. The house was very dilapidated and the environment was dark. As soon as he walked in, a group of 8 or 9-year-old children surrounded him and called him Grandpa. They all had innocent smiles on their faces. Jun Changshao said, Elder Wei has many children and grandchildren. He's a lucky man. Elder Wei handed out the candies he bought one by one and said with a loving expression, these are all orphans I've adopted. Jun Changshao was stunned. In this cruel world, it was inconceivable that someone would adopt orphans. Sect Master Jun thought too much of the world of martial arts. In reality, there would always be good people doing seemingly laughable good deeds in any place. Sect Master Jun, Elder Wei said, can you give them a salary in advance? Sure. Jun Changshao took out 1,000 taels without hesitation. After Elder Wei took it, he only gave 300 taels to the older boy. After giving him some instructions, he packed his luggage and left. On the way, Jun Changshao said, Elder Wei, you can actually bring them to the Ironbone. Elder Wei shook his head and said, this world is very cruel. They have to learn to face it on their own. I can only help them for a while, not forever. So. Jun Changshao said, you gave them a few hundred taels because you don't want them to rely on you too much? That's right. Elder Wei said. This old man must have had extraordinary experiences. Ding. Side quest completed. Host receives 50 contribution points. Ding. Sect contribution points, 313500. After Jun Changshao and AI Shangyao completed the transaction, the side quest was triggered. The content was hire Elder Wei as an Ironbone herb refiner. No wonder he was willing to hire him with a monthly salary of 10,000 taels. In fact, even without the side quest, Jun Changshao would still hire Elder Wei. Because his intuition told him that this was not a simple person. Fine. Your Ironbone herb refiner is a person with a story. We'll just sit and listen to your stories. Sect Master Jun, Elder Wei said, since you're hiring this old man as an Ironbone herb refiner, does the sect have any medicinal seeds? Go buy them. Jun Changshao said. The two of them went to the medicinal market and bought many kinds of medicinal herbs before returning to the Ironbone herb refiner. As soon as they returned to the sect, Li Qingyang handed over something and said, Sect Master, 2 hours ago, someone sent a letter. Oh. Jun Changshao took the letter and opened it. On it was written 3 days later, Ironbone Sect Master is invited to the ruins of the Spirit Spring Sect for a battle. Signed by, Inner Disciple of the Sacred Spring Sect, Mo Shangfei. Li Qingyang said solemnly, Sect Master, this is a letter of challenge. Jun Changshao held the letter in his hand and said with a faint smile, the Sacred Spring Sect can't sit still anymore. They only sent an inner disciple. Aren't they looking down on me, Jun Changshao? Chapter 110. After destroying the Spirit Spring Sect, Jun Changshao had thought that the Sacred Spring Sect would come to find trouble with him, but he did not expect it to be in the form of a letter of challenge. That's right. If Wei Yishi did not play tricks at the beginning and used this method to resolve the grievances between the two sects, how could he destroy the sect? Sect Master Li Qingyang said solemnly, to be able to become an inner disciple of the Sacred Spring Sect, your talent and strength must be outstanding. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, since you asked me to send a letter of challenge, as the sect master, if I fight, wouldn't I be a laughingstock? Qingyang. He paused and said, you will accept the challenge. Yes. Li Qingyang said. Jun Changshao said, this battle is related to the glory of the sect. No matter what, you must win for me. Li Qingyang shouted, disciple will do his best. In fact, he was quite pressured. After all, the opponent was an inner disciple of the fifth-rate Sacred Spring Sect, and may not be weaker than him in terms of talent and strength. Jun Changshao clasped his fingers together and said, what I want is to win. Yes. Li Qingyang said loudly, 3 days later, disciple will win. Jun Changshao waved his hand and threw over 10 qi-gathering pills and 3 spirit stones, saying, don't worry about anything these 2 days, cultivate well for the battle 3 days later. The 10 spirit stones were obtained from the sect's martial arts competition, and he was unwilling to use them. Now that the Sacred Spring Sect came to fight, he did not hesitate to give Li Qingyang 3 spirit stones, hoping that he can become stronger in the shortest time possible so that he can have a 100% chance of winning. Li Qingyang took the spirit stones and pills, and said with a firm gaze, disciple will not let the sect master down. With that, he left the hall to cultivate. Lu Qianqian leaned on the door and said lightly, why don't you let me fight? Jun Changshao said, Qingyang is steady and can see the big picture. I hope that he can become stronger and more confident to assist me in managing the Iron Bone sect. Lu Qianqian said lightly, so, this is the reason that the sect master found for you to be a hands-off shopkeeper in the future? Jun Changshao clutched his chest and collapsed on the back of the chair, pretending to be weak, saying, I can't, my heart hurts. Lu Qianqian rolled her eyes at him and said, the Holy Spring Sect came to fight this time, it shows that they care about the Spirit Spring Sect. Our Iron Bone Sect and such a sect can be considered to have formed a grudge. Jun Changshao stopped his awkward act and spread out his hands. As long as they don't play tricks, I don't mind playing with them. If these words were heard by outsiders, they would definitely be speechless. Where is he responsible for taking care of it? Sect Master, please send a few disciples to assist this old man in reclaiming the wasteland. Elder Wei, who had just settled down, did not intend to rest. Instead, he began to perform his duties. Jun Changshao called Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, Li Fei and others to assist in reclaiming the wasteland. In just half a day, more than 10 acres of wasteland had been plowed by them. The soil was soft and suitable for planting. Elder Wei carefully took out the medicinal seeds. Then, he hunched his body and planted them step by step. Elder Wei, Su Xiaoma said, will help you. Elder Wei waved his hand and said, planting medicinal seeds requires a sincere heart to nurture medicinal herbs that gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. You little kids are too impatient. Let this old man do it alone. The Iron Bone disciples were speechless. Since they were not allowed to help, they left the back mountain and went to cultivate. It was not until dusk came that Elder Wei planted medicinal seeds in more than 10 acres of land. The distance between each medicinal herb and the depth of the hole was very particular. If a peer saw this, they would praise him sincerely professional. Since he had hired Elder Wei, Jun Changshao did not ask any more. Instead, he sat cross-legged in his room and pulled out the alchemy pavilion. After a series of clinking sounds, he refined 300 meridian unlocking pills. This thing together with Yi Jin Jing will definitely open meridians easily. I'll let Du try it tomorrow. As he muttered, he waved his hand and took out a spirit stone. Li Qingyang needed to cultivate. He also needed to cultivate because the battle with the Sacred Springs sect meant that he would have to face a fifth-rate sect. His cultivation must improve as soon as possible. How do I use it? Holding the spirit stone, Sect Master Jun was dumbfounded. The system said, it's the same as communicating with a crystal core. Communicate with the spirit stone and draw out the spiritual energy inside. Slowly refine it and integrate it into the cyclone. Oh. Jun Changshao did as he was told. When his consciousness entered the spirit stone, he felt the majestic spiritual energy inside and could not help but exclaim, it's so pure. Nonsense. The system said, if it's not pure, can it be 10,000 taels for one? Jun Changshao ignored it and began to guide the spiritual energy in the spirit stone. It gradually formed a soft line and flew out, entering his body through his nostrils. Yi Jin Jing activated and began to refine it slowly. After a night, the spirit stone in his hand turned from a crystal to a dull gray. The cyclone in Jun Changxiao's dantian was obviously stronger than before. He secretly exclaimed, if I absorb 4 or 5 more spirit stones, breaking through from the 8th grade to the 9th grade will definitely be a piece of cake. Jun Changshao had estimated that even if he took qi gathering pills and cultivated continuously, it would take at least half a month. Now that he had spirit stones, he could break through in 2 or 3 days. It was simply too terrifying. The system said, spirit stones are the most important cultivation resource in the falling star continent. Many cultivators have toiled their entire lives for them and even lost their lives. How do I obtain spirit stones? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, either find a mine or find a spirit master to refine it from a high-grade crystal core. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, I already have a medicinal master. It seems that I have to find a time to go down the mountain and hire a spirit master. The system poured cold water on him. Spirit master is an extremely rare profession. Even the lowest level of spirit apostle is less than 10 in the entire Azure Sun County. If the host really wants to hire one, then be prepared to take out 1,000,000 taels of courage. 1,000,000? That's daylight robbery. The next day, Jun Changshao called Lu Wanshi over and said, Dudu, what level are you at now? When are you going to break through your meridians? Lu Wanshi said, Sect Master, I'm at the 4th stage of the channel opening stage and have already condensed spiritual energy. I can break through my meridians at any time. Her culinary skills were superb, but her spiritual root was only at the common grade. She also had to be responsible for the meals of her seniors, so she had only reached the 4th meridian when she entered the sect with Yi Xingqian. Here. Jun Changshao said, this is a channel opening pill. It can help you successfully open your meridians. Lu Wanshi took the pill and stared with her big round eyes. She said in disbelief, channel opening pill? That's a very expensive pill. Sect Master, are you really going to give it to me? Seeing the little girl's cute appearance, Jun Changshao really wanted to pinch her cheeks. Hurry up and break through. N. Lu Wanshi didn't leave. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the floor of the main hall and took the channel opening pill. She operated the body metamorphose scripture. The result, she opened her meridians. To be exact. When the little girl gathered her spiritual energy to break through the blocked meridians, she easily opened them. Hoo. Her spiritual energy passed through the 5th main meridian. Lu Wanshi's wrist condensed a 5th ring of light. She couldn't contain her joy and said, Sect Master, I've opened my 5th meridian. She seemed to be too excited. She jumped up and threw herself at Jun Changshao. Shwa! Sect Master Jun took a sidestep and perfectly dodged. Then, he heard a peng sound. The petite Lu Wanshi fell to the ground with her arms and legs spread out. This was definitely an instinctive dodging reaction formed after practicing martial arts for a long time. Lu Wanshi stood up and rubbed her forehead. Her eyes were full of tears. She said pitifully, "Sect Master, why didn't you catch me? P.S. Thank you for the gifts. Students who have tickets, don't hide them. Throw them all at me. I definitely won't avoid them like the single dog Jun Changshao." Chapter 111. With the combination of the Meridian Unlocking Pill and Body Metamorphose Scripture, Lu Wanshi easily opened her fifth meridian. After that, Jun Changshao gathered all the disciples who had not reached stage 12. There were not many of them, only 13. 4 of them were at stage 10, and 9 were at stage 11. It was not that they did not work hard enough, but that they were too unlucky. Sometimes, even with the Body Metamorphose Scripture's success rate, they would fail continuously, so the gap between them gradually widened. Seeing that most of their fellow disciples had reached stage 12, the 13 disciples blamed themselves and felt depressed. They felt ashamed of the support the sect leader had given them. Jun Changshao could see this, so he gave each of them 3 meridian unlocking pills and encouraged them. Failure for a while does not mean failure forever. Work hard and you can do it. The system said. The host is becoming more and more like the sect leader. What was this saying? Was I not like the sect leader before? Before, I was very weak and did not have the demeanor of a sect leader. Now that my cultivation has increased, my body has become stronger, and my charisma has been revealed. I really did have the look of a sect leader. But what were the flaws? They lacked the demeanor of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. This kind of temperament was not easy to cultivate. First, the sect leader had to be a true expert. Second, the sect had to be strong. Even if it could not dominate the continent, it had to be powerful. Someone who had been in a high position for a long time was nothing. Since I, Jun Changshao, came to the Falling Star continent, I will be the strongest sect leader who controls the world and lies drunk on beauty's knees. The system complained, "Single dog, go wash up and sleep." After the 13 disciples took the meridian unlocking pills, 9 of them broke through to stage 12, and the other 4 entered stage 11. What was this? A 100% success rate. The next day, after learning that all the disciples had opened their meridians, Jun Changshao said happily, "When we recruit new disciples, as long as they gather enough spirit energy, opening their meridians will be a small matter." Sinful Self and Xing Chen went out to train. Otherwise, if I gave them a few pills each, they would definitely improve greatly. The combination of Body Metamorphose Scripture and Meridian Unlocking Pills could allow a meridian opening martial artist to have a 100% success rate. This was very terrifying. If this spread out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Unfortunately, no one knew. In the eyes of many high-level cultivators, Iron Bone was like a lowly ant, slowly climbing up a mountain. The day before the battle, Li Qingyang sat cross-legged in the center of the spiritual energy array. He focused his mind and circulated the tendon-changing scripture. His body was shrouded in layers of spiritual energy, like a cocoon wrapping him up. Su Xiaoma and the others knew that their second senior brother was going to fight with the inner disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect, so they didn't enter the array formation for 2 days, fearing that they would accidentally disturb the battle. Plop. After a short while, the last spirit stone fell to the ground with a dull color because all of its energy had been sucked dry. Who? Li Qingyang took a deep breath and absorbed all the spiritual qi in his body. The moment he opened his eyes, 2 rays of light flashed. 4th grade martial disciple, there shouldn't be any problems. During the martial arts competition, he had already become a rank 1 martial disciple. After returning for a while, he finally became a rank 2 martial disciple. Now, with the help of spirit stones and qi-gathering pills, he had advanced 2 levels in 2 days. As the number 1 genius of Qingyang City, Li Qingyang's aptitude was unquestionable. However, The reason why his cultivation was slow before was that he had to help the sect leader deal with a lot of internal affairs, which indirectly delayed a lot of cultivation time. He didn't have any complaints because this was the sect leader's trust in him. He could only do his best to do everything well. Night came. Li Qingyang walked out of the array formation and entered the training room. He began the final shaping of his body for the battle with the disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect. On the roof of the main hall, Jun Changshao sat on the ridge with his elbows on his legs and his palms folded together. He held his chin with the back of his hand and said, "Qingyang, you've worked hard during this time." Lu Qianqian was cold and indifferent. Xiao Ziji was decadent and depressed. Su Xiaoma was naughty and carefree. All the disciples were talents. However, a sect couldn't rely on the sect leader alone. The steady Li Qingyang was undoubtedly what Jun Changshao needed and liked the most. The reason why he let him fight this time was because he hoped to gather enough prestige to better assist him in leading the sect's junior brothers. The next day. The sky had just brightened. Lu Wanshi cooked early and made a sumptuous breakfast. Ma Yongning and the two assassins brought it to the dining table. After a while, the disciples came to eat. Li Qingyang also came. Although he cultivated for a night in the shaping room, he looked full of energy. Su Xiaoma walked over with a bowl in his hand and said, "Junior brother wishes second senior brother to defeat the disciples of the Sacred Spring Sect and spread the might of my iron bone." As he spoke, he drank the soup in one gulp. Ha! He quickly stuck out his tongue and exhaled, "Hot! Hot!" The other disciples also came to give their blessings. The atmosphere in the cafeteria suddenly became warm. Lu Wanshi, who was wearing an apron, poked her head out from the side of the kitchen. She shook the spoon in her hand and said with a smile, "I especially woke up early today to make a sumptuous meal for second senior brother." Plop! Everyone fell down together. Li Qingyang staggered and supported himself on the table. Black lines appeared on his forehead. A child's words carry no harm, a child's words carry no harm. Not long after, Jun Changshao walked in. After eating a sumptuous meal with the disciples, he brought Li Qingyang, Lu Qianqian, and a few other main disciples on the road without any worries. Yaoyang City, Spirit Spring Mountain. The first time he came, Jun Changshao destroyed the Spirit Spring sect. The second time, he accepted the challenge. He's here, he's here. Iron Bone really accepted the challenge. I thought that guy wouldn't dare to come against the Sacred Spring sect. Jun Changshao walked up the mountain with a few disciples and saw many martial artists in different attire gathered outside the ruins of the Spirit Spring sect. He didn't go down the mountain these few days, so he didn't know that the news of the Sacred Spring sect challenging his sect had already spread in Azure Sun County. The various sects and martial artists who received the news naturally wouldn't miss it and came to Yaoyang City as early as yesterday. Many sects of the 100 Sect Alliance also came. For example, the Patriarch of the Tiger's Howl School and the Iron Fist gang leader who was punched out by Xiao Ziji. When they saw Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples coming up, the corners of their mouths curled up and a faint sneer appeared. "Brat! Fortunately, you left the alliance. The Sacred Spring sect is magnanimous and didn't make a fuss about it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have let you go." Hee hee. Jun Changshao smiled and said, "It's just a challenge, but it's even livelier than the grand tournament." This seat is a bit surprised. Sect Master Jun, the Patriarch of the Tiger's Howl School lightly said, "The people of the Sacred Spring sect are waiting for you at the Spirit Spring sect's martial field. After you go in, they might give you a shock." After the meeting in Azure Sun City, the 100 Sect Alliance would definitely not welcome Jun Changshao. The reason they came this time was naturally to see how he would be bullied by a fifth-rate sect. Thinking about how arrogant that guy was at the Star Moon Pavilion and the panicked expression he would show when facing the Sacred Spring sect, the elders of the various sects immediately smiled. The Spirit Spring sect is just a pile of ruins, how could it scare this seat? Jun Changshao led his disciples and walked forward. As soon as they entered, they saw 3 chairs placed in front of the collapsed main hall. There were 3 people sitting on the chairs. In the middle was a middle-aged man with a resolute face. His hands were clasped together, and his head was slightly lowered. The person on the left was also a middle-aged man. He supported his face with one hand, and his expression was slightly gloomy. On the right was a man with wrinkles on his head. One leg was crossed over the other, and he was picking his ear with his pinky finger, looking very sloppy. Although the 3 had different appearances, they had one thing in common. They were all emitting a vigorous aura, and their cultivation was definitely not weaker than the elders of the Blue Mountain Sect. Jun Changshao touched his nose and thought, if these 3 wore the uniform of the Navy and put on the long cloak of justice, they would be the 3 admirals of the Navy. Chapter 112. The auras of the 3 martial artists sitting in the ruins of the main hall were thick, giving off a very strong feeling. Even the air became oppressive. They were the 3rd elder, 4th elder, and 5th elder of the Holy Spring Sect. Their cultivation was at the Wuzong level. In this battle, they had sent out 3 martial ancestor elders. It seemed that they wanted to tell the world that the Spirit Spring Sect, which was related to the Sacred Spring Sect, could not be destroyed so easily. On the right side of the 3 stood a group of martial artists in blue robes. They were the disciples of the Holy Spring Sect. On the left side, there were many martial artists, including the Lord of Green Sun City, Xia Guankuan, the Alliance Master of the 100th Sect Alliance, Qin Haoren, and the 6th-rate Sect Master of Green Sun County. What a great lineup! No wonder the Patriarch of the Tiger's Howl Sect had to stand outside. Xia Guankuan secretly said, Sect Master Jun, the Holy Spring Sect sent 3 elders this time. It looks like a battle, but in reality, they are pressuring you. I really can't help you. A 5th-rate sect was a colossus. Although he was the Lord of Green Sun City, he was powerless. Qin Haoren and the Sect Master of the 6th-rate sect looked at Jun Changshao with a mocking gaze. Little brat, facing this lineup, can you still be as arrogant as the Star Moon Pavilion? Jun Changshao stopped outside the martial arts field with his disciples. The stone slabs in front of him were burnt black. Wasn't it because he set fire to the Spirit Spring Sect? The 3rd elder, who was sitting in the middle seat, slowly raised his head and said, You are the leader of the Iron Bone Sect? His eyes were sharp, and his voice was loud like a bell. Waves of spirit aura filled the air. Jun Changshao straightened his chest, put his hands behind his back, and calmly said, Yes. The disciples standing behind him, except for Lu Qianqian, also held their heads high. There was not the slightest trace of fear on their faces. What was the Iron Bone Sect's first motto? To be a man of iron bone, to do things of iron bone. Although there were 3 Wuzong-level experts in front of them, and the aura that filled the air made them feel extremely oppressed, their iron bones would not be bent because of this. Xia Guankuan was secretly impressed. The Iron Bones clan, they have iron bones. Even Jun Changshao himself, facing the 3 Wuzong masters, finally understood why the first sect leader named the sect the Iron Bone Sect. At that moment, the great soul of sect leader Wang, who had failed to break out of prison after visiting a brothel, seemed to have appeared in the sky. He opened his wide arms and poured out the Iron Bones buff, allowing them to face a strong enemy without panicking. Humph, Alliance Master Qin sneered and said to himself, pretending to be calm. He thought differently from Xia Guankuan. He thought that Jun Changshao and the Iron Bone disciples were only pretending to be strong. They must be very scared and nervous. Pretending. It didn't exist. If the situation permitted, sect leader Jun would play mahjong with his disciples. The 3rd elder of the Holy Spring Sect clasped his fingers together, and a looming spiritual power appeared. He said in a deep voice, The Holy Spring Sect was also destroyed by you. Spiritual might rippled. If it was an ordinary person, feeling the heavy aura, they would definitely be paralyzed on the ground. Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, don't talk nonsense, hurry up and call Verger Glider out to fight with my disciples. You think you're awesome just because you have a strong aura. If you have the ability, come and kill me. The third elder wouldn't kill him because this was an open battle. If he ignored his status and killed him, he would be ridiculed by other sections. Jun Changshao had calculated this point, which was why he was able to meet his gaze without fear. No matter how awesome you are, your aura and eyes can't kill people. The system said, if it's a martial emperor, looking back and smiling can make the host collapse into nothingness. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. A martial emperor looking back and smiling shyly at him like a woman, that scene is definitely a new material for Ghost Beast. Don't talk nonsense. Xie Guanquan covered his face and collapsed. This kid dares to say anything. Alliance Master Qin and the other sect leaders smiled even more. Yes, this is the arrogance, don't be afraid, keep it up. TSK Tisk. The fifth elder on the right grinned. A ninth-rate sect leader is quite arrogant, no wonder he dared to kill an outer disciple of the Holy Spring sect. The words outer disciple made Xie Guanquan understand that the Holy Spring sect's trip was to tell the world, not for the destruction of the Holy Spring sect, but for the death of their disciples. The other sects have nothing to say about how to deal with the iron bone. Jun Changshao was quite surprised. The outer disciple you said is the patriarch and elder of the Holy Spring sect? Yes. The fifth elder said. TSK. Jun Changshao said. I heard that the Holy Spring sect is a famous righteous sect. I thought that Wei Yishi, who colluded with the bandits and assassins, was just a temporary worker. I didn't expect him to be a disciple of your sect. The third elder's face darkened. Of course. Jun Changshao said again. If the Holy Spring sect thinks that Jun is slandering people, I can take out the letter of Wei Yishi colluding with the bandit Zhou Tianba as evidence. The three were silent. The fourth elder, who had not spoken from beginning to end, said lightly, Wei Yishi and his brothers were just former outer disciples. They were expelled many years ago. Their collusion with the bandits is their own business, it has nothing to do with the Holy Spring sect. A fifth-rate sect also wants face. Jun Changshao cupped his hands. You discovered the bad behavior of the four outer disciples early on and expelled them. The Holy Spring sect is indeed a famous righteous sect. Jun admires you. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Xie Guanquan secretly said, this kid's mouth is really powerful, no wonder Situ Wang vomited blood on the spot. Now that Wei Yishi had been labeled as expelled, the Sacred Spring sect naturally could not use the fact that their outer court disciple was killed to look for trouble. Sect leader Jun, the third elder said lightly, it's clearly written in the letter of challenge that the inner disciple of the Holy Spring sect, Mo Shangfei, challenged you, not an iron bone disciple. Jun Changshao shrugged. I'm the leader of a sect. It's not honorable to win against a disciple of your sect, so it's the fairest for disciples to fight each other. Qin Haoran looked at him with disdain. As if you can really win against an inner disciple of the Holy Spring sect. The three elders of the Holy Spring sect looked at each other and quickly reached a tacit agreement. The third elder said, if that's the case, then let my sect's disciples experience the skills of the Iron Bone faction's disciples. Shangfei. He waved and said, let's fight. Yes. The disciple named Mo Shangfei walked out. This person was tall and strong, his exposed muscles were very solid. At first glance, one could tell that his strength was extraordinary. Jun Changshao thought to himself, what's his cultivation? The system said, an 8th grade martial disciple, about 17,000 pounds of pure physical strength. So high. Jun Changshao frowned. The previous leader of the Long Blade School, a 9th grade martial disciple, only had a strength of 14,000 pounds. The Holy Spring sect's disciple was 1 grade lower, but his strength was 3,000 pounds higher. Qingyang. He said in a low voice, the opponent is not weak, be careful. Li Qingyang walked to the center of the training field, a few meters away from Mo Shangfei. He cupped his hands and said, Li Qingyang of the Iron Bone School. The Sacred Spring Sect's fifth elder picked his ears and said indifferently, Sect Head Jun, the disciple my sect sent out is an 8th grade martial disciple. You sent out a 4th grade martial disciple. Aren't you deliberately sending yourself to be abused? Chapter 113. Rank 8 Martial Disciple. Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, and the other disciples' expressions changed. The difference between rank 4 and rank 8 was too big. Could second senior brother win? Lu Qianqian frowned and said in a low voice, Sect Master, the opponent is too strong. Let me fight. She didn't think that second junior brother could win with Mo Shangfei's strength. Jun Changshao took out a chair from his interspatial ring and sat down. He tapped his fingers on the armrest and said, You are the senior sister. No matter when or where, you must have confidence in your junior brother. Lu Qianqian was silent. She stood behind with the other junior brothers. Li Qingyang's talent is not bad, but Mo Shangfei of the Holy Spring Sect also has a high-grade spirit root. He has no chance of winning. Iron Bone is the only one who can take out this disciple, right? Alliance Master Qin and the other sect masters sneered. This was such a good opportunity. If they didn't mock Iron Bone, how could they vent their anger at Star Moon Pavilion? Of course. They didn't think that Li Qingyang was bad. But with the same talent, Mo Shangfei was much better than the other in terms of resources and mentors. If this number 1 genius of Qingyang City joined Blue Mountain Sect, he would definitely be an inner disciple. His achievements would definitely be better than now. Sigh, such a waste of good talent. The elders of the various sects were regretful. But in reality, they were just mocking Iron Bone and Jun Changshao in different ways. Xie Guanquan thought, 2 months ago, Li Qingyang was only a 10th stage meridian opening. Now he is a rank 4 martial disciple. His growth speed is already not bad. You guys are really blind. They weren't blind. They were being black for the sake of being black. Jun Changshao didn't care about other people's mockery. He looked into the distance and saw a flash of light. He thought, Sinful Ji is also here. Yes. Xiao Ziji was also here. He was crouching on a high slope 800 meters away. His body was wrapped in the grass and one of his eyes was stuck to the lens. The muzzle of the Type 88 sniper rifle was already aimed at Mo Shangfei. When he was training in the wild, Xiao Ziji heard about the battle and rushed over in advance. He had been hiding in the bushes for a day and a night. Even the 3 Wuzong experts who came later did not expect a phantom sniper to be hiding in the dark. Sect leader. The gun was ready. Whoever you point at, this disciple will beat them up. Yi Xingchen lay on a rock far away and thought to himself, if I didn't use the Taishian Sutra to conceal your presence, do you really think no one would notice you lying in the grass? Sacred Spring Sect, Mo Shangfei. Mo Shangfei indifferently reported his name. His tone and eyes were full of disdain. He had heard of Li Qingyang before, but he did not take him seriously. After all, if he joined an unrated sect, he would definitely be slowly assimilated into trash. After reporting each other's names, the battle was supposed to start. However, third elders said, Sect leader Jun, fists and feet have no eyes. If my disciple injures your disciple, please forgive him. Was he trying to tell him that the guy would be very fierce in his attacks? Jun Changshao shook his head and cupped his hands. If my disciple injures your disciple, please forgive him. Qin Haoren and the others rolled their eyes. A rank 4 martial artist injuring a rank 8 martial artist was definitely a joke. Third elder was too lazy to argue with Jun Changshao. Instead, he said indifferently, you may begin. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Mo Shangfei took a big stride forward. He gathered spiritual energy in his right fist and punched with great force. It was very fast and very sudden. Bang! Li Qingyang did not have time to dodge. He hastily crossed his arms and took the opponent's punch head-on. Thump thump thump. He frantically retreated more than 10 steps and barely managed to stabilize his body. Judging from the degree of spiritual energy rippling in the air, that guy's punch was at least 20,000 pounds. Phew! Li Qingyang shook his slightly numb arm. Mo Shangfei retracted his fist and said in surprise, "To be able to take my Gale Fist without batting an eyelid, your physical defense is not bad. However." He smiled and said, "How many times can I take it?" Swoosh! He rushed over with his movement technique. Before he arrived, his left and right fists frequently swung. Under the support of spiritual energy, they turned into shadows of fists. Middle-tier Gale Fist was known for its speed and fierceness. Mo Shangfei had comprehended it to the extreme. When he displayed it, Alliance Master Qin and the others were amazed. Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi's faces changed in shock. If it were them, they would not be able to dodge such a fast fist speed and power. They would definitely be battered and exhausted. Li Qingyang frowned slightly. He crossed his arms again, but with a few bangs, he took all the powerful shadows of fists. His body also retreated step by step. Ta! He retreated to the edge of the martial arts field and stepped on the stone floor with one foot to stabilize his body. Mo Shangfei, who was unforgiving, quickly followed. He rose into the air, and his right fist was supported by spiritual energy. It flashed with light and blasted over. This attack was very strong. Alliance Master Qin and the other sect leaders instantly judged that Li Qingyang could not dodge left and right. He could either retreat or take it head-on. If he retreated, he would lose. After taking a few punches in succession, he would definitely be injured if he took it head-on. At this time, they hoped that Li Qingyang would retreat because it was equivalent to losing. He had lost without making a move from the beginning. They would definitely laugh at him. Jun Changxiao's fingers tapped rhythmically. It was not deliberate because he was panicking, but because his state of mind was really stable. Ta! At this time, Li Qingyang suddenly stepped on the ground with one foot. His right fist was at his abdomen. Spiritual energy crazily poured into his arm from his meridians, and a dazzling light gathered in his fist. Exploding fist. With a cold shout, his right fist suddenly blasted out. At the same time, the light flashed, and a whirlpool was formed 1 meter under his feet. Bang bang bang. The sound of explosions resounded in the martial arts field like a string of firecrackers being lit. Everyone was shocked and surprised. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Li Qingyang's fist, which carried the power of explosion, directly hit Mo Shangfei's fist and sent him flying. Thump thump thump. The inner disciple of the Sacred Spring Sect staggered and fell to the ground. He was forced to retreat more than 20 meters before he could stabilize himself. His eyes were filled with shock as he felt an intense pain from his right fist. The strength of his Gale Fist had reached 22,000 pounds. When he faced Mo Shangfei head-on, he was completely at a disadvantage. Alliance Master Qin and the others, who had already prepared a line to mock Iron Bone, were all stunned when they saw Mo Shangfei being beaten back. It was unbelievable that he could still turn the situation around in such a situation. Exploding fist. What kind of martial arts technique was this? Why had they not heard of it? With the cultivation of a 4th-grade martial disciple, he was able to defeat an 8th-grade martial disciple who used the Gale Fist. Could it be a middle-grade fist technique? Yi Xingqian, who was watching from the high slope, was secretly shocked. This fist technique is definitely not simple. Swoosh! Suddenly, Li Qingyang rushed over. At the same time, his right fist turned into a palm knife. He poured spiritual energy into his palm and waved it in the air. Swoosh! 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 In an instant, 3 crescent moon-like flowing lights, dragging arcs of light, shot out from 3 directions. Wherever they passed, faint light shadows were left behind. That's right, I slashed. Xie Guangquan exclaimed, spiritual force-type martial arts technique. Qin Haoran and the other sect leaders widened their eyes. Their eyes were finally filled with shock. Even the 3 elders of the Sacred Spring sect, who were sitting calmly on the fishing platform, almost couldn't help but stand up when they saw Li Qingyang slashing out 3 crescent moon-like flowing lights. Spiritual force-type martial arts technique. The Sacred Spring sect also had it, but the lowest level was middle grade. Only martial masters could use it. The weak cyclone in the dantian of a martial disciple was extremely difficult to use. Jun Changshao copied the 5th elder and crossed one leg over the other. He smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to be so surprised, right?" Chapter 114. Li Qingyang's self-slash, a spiritual energy-type martial skill, immediately shocked everyone. Unbelievable. Knight Emperor was also shocked. In his previous life, he had practiced many kinds of spiritual martial arts, so he knew the weakness of this kind of martial arts. For example, the sun and moon slash he practiced was also a spiritual martial arts, but the requirement was to reach Wusheng's level. Moreover, one slash would consume 60% of the energy of the cyclone. What about Li Qingyang? He just raised his hand and slashed out 3 rays of light. The process was too easy. The rupturing fist and the self-chop shocked Yi Xingqian deeply. He realized that the iron bone martial arts were not bad. Breaking through to martial disciple and practicing the martial arts of this sect seems to be better than practicing the martial arts of this emperor. He thought to himself. Yi Xingqian, who was originally only interested in Yi Jinjing, had a strong impression of rupturing fist and self-chop. Swoosh! 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 On the martial arts practice field, 3 rays of crescent light shot out in different trajectories. Mo Shangfei, who had just stabilized his body, suddenly changed his expression. He hurriedly used Gale Fist to meet them. Bang! Bang! His fists collided with the crescent light coming from the left and right, causing his arms to tremble violently. He felt as if his muscles were being torn apart. Mo Shangfei didn't have time to grit his teeth because the 3rd ray of crescent light shot out from the ground. It drew a 90-degree arc from bottom to top and smashed into his chin. Swoosh! The strong force sent his whole body flying. Finally, he fell heavily on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Being able to block 2 self-chop, this Sacred Spring sect inner disciple's performance was not bad. However, the 3rd attack was from a tricky angle. There was no way to dodge it. Damn! Damn it! Mo Shangfei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up. It seemed that his body was very strong. He was only slightly injured after being hit. This was because Li Qingyang didn't use all of his spiritual power. Otherwise, his bones would have been broken if he only used his fists to block the self-chop. The 3 elders' faces suddenly became gloomy. He had thought that his sect's disciple would be able to defeat his opponent easily, but who would have thought that he would be injured by his opponent's successive attacks? Qin Haoran said, although the spiritual energy martial technique is powerful, its weakness is that it cannot be sustained for long. If the Sacred Spring sect disciples can withstand it, there is nothing to be afraid of. The Iron Bone disciple must have used up a lot of energy after using 3 moves in a row. He must be exhausted if he continues fighting. These elders of the 100 Sect Alliance seemed to be discussing amongst themselves, but their voices were very loud. It was obvious that they were reminding the inner disciples of the Sacred Spring sect not to be impatient and to slowly exhaust him to death. Mo Shangfei didn't need to be reminded. He also knew the weakness of spiritual power-type martial techniques. He shook his arms and said with a cold gaze, "I was careless just now and let you seize the opportunity." This time, he was serious and no longer underestimated the enemy. The 5th elder picked his ears and grinned. The show has just begun. Not bad. Jun Changshao shook his legs and scratched his nose. The show has just begun. Schwa. After adjusting himself, Mo Shangfei rushed over once again. He used the Gale Fist, and his speed was obviously much faster than before. Instantly, more than 10 fist shadows appeared, and the power was quite explosive. Bang! 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 Li Qingyang used the rupturing fist. The sound of firecrackers and the sound of fist fighting spread out together. Faint spiritual energy rippled in the air. In just a moment, the two of them exchanged more than 10 moves with fist techniques. The dust under their feet collided with each other, forming a whirlwind around them and tearing the broken leaves into strips. Bang! The two of them exchanged another punch, and both of them retreated 4 to 5 meters. Li Qingyang stretched out his 10 fingers, and his arms were numb from the shock. Mo Shangfei wasn't any better. This kind of intense confrontation was like a rock hitting a rock. It hurt both the enemy and oneself. Looks like it will be hard to determine the winner in a short time. This is really strange. A 4th grade martial disciple can actually fight evenly with an 8th grade martial disciple. The quality of the fist technique used by the Iron Bone disciple is not low. Otherwise, he would have been defeated long ago. The Holy Spring Sect disciple's realm is high, and the spiritual energy in his cyclone is boundless. It won't be a problem for him to fight a protracted battle. The Iron Bone disciple's hands are shaking. In my opinion, the spiritual energy in his Dantian cyclone has been consumed by 70 to 80%. Swish! Li Qingyang waved his hand and said, "I chop." Whoosh! The crescent-shaped flowing light burst out. He could still use spiritual energy-type martial arts. The sect leaders who were discussing saw the flowing light rushing over, and they were all dumbfounded on the spot. "I chop! I chop!" In a very short time, Li Qingyang waved his hand again and slashed out 2 crescent-shaped flowing lights. He used practical actions to fiercely slap a group of big shots in the face and tell them that his spiritual energy was abundant. Bang! 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 Mo Shangfei was alert. He used his body movement to dodge at the first moment. The 3 flowing lights bombarded the stone slabs one after another, smashing them into pieces. This time, it was Li Qingyang's turn to be unforgiving. Taking advantage of the other party's escape, he turned his body sideways and continuously made cutting motions like playing table tennis. Crescent-shaped flowing lights shot out one after another. Watching the crescent-shaped flowing lights fly past their eyes in different arcs on the training field, the expressions on the faces of Alliance Master Qin and the martial artists of the various sects stiffened. A spiritual energy-type martial arts with high consumption was thrown out with a wave of his hand. The scene was simply too frightening. Although Mo Shangfei tried to show off his coquettish movement in the light of the blade and sword, he could only dodge 3 flowing lights and was mercilessly hit by the following flowing lights on his face, shoulders, hands, and feet. Plop. Finally, after being bombarded, he fell on all 4s on the ground. Blood spurted out from the side of his face, and he also rolled his eyes and fainted. Although the power of Li Qingyang's "I chop" was not strong, it could not withstand the wild bombardment. Not to mention an 8th grade martial disciple, even a 9th grade martial disciple would not be able to withstand it. We won. Second senior brother won. Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi were so excited that they jumped up. Although Lu Qianqian was expressionless, she secretly said in her heart, "When we go back, I have to cultivate my "I chop." This woman was the same as Yi Xingqian. She was only interested in Yi Jinjing. As for rupturing fist and "I chop," although she had them long ago, she never cultivated them. Seeing that his senior brother had won, Xiao Ziji gently raised his head and his index finger also loosened from the trigger. He was always on high alert. If the battle just now was not favorable to second senior brother, he would have killed Mo Shangfei immediately. Junior brother Yi. Xiao Ziji grinned and said, "Second senior brother won. TSK, the cold and aloof Knight Emperor said disdainfully, "Do you have to be so happy after winning against an 8th grade martial disciple?" His state of mind was calm because he had not integrated himself into the iron bone. He did not have the sect's sense of honor. Xiao Ziji was different. He recognized the iron bone, the sect leader, and his senior and junior brothers. Therefore, the joy brought by Li Qingyang's victory was no less than that of personally winning. Aya. Jun Changshao stood up and said apologetically, "Fists and legs have no eyes. I'm really sorry to beat up your sect's disciples like this." The Sacred Spring sect disciples standing on the left had anger in their eyes. Some of their hands were already on the hilt of their swords. Lu Qianqian took 2 steps forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with the sect leader. Her jade hand was also on the hilt of her sword. Her pair of starry eyes flashed with coldness. "My sister Qian is ruthless and doesn't talk much." Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi also came over. Their hands were on the hilt of cold-edged sword. They glared angrily and did not show any weakness. Xiao Ziji once again approached the eightfold scope. The crosshair locked onto the head of the Sacred Spring sect disciple closest to the sect leader. As long as he dared to move, his head would explode. Swords were drawn and bows were bent. The atmosphere was solemn. Chapter 115. The Holy Spring sect disciples found it hard to accept that Imo Shangfei had fainted, so they placed their hands on the hilt of their swords, as if they were planning to attack. Lu Qianqian and Su Xiaoma were not afraid either. "As long as you dare to attack, we will definitely dare to draw our swords." At this moment, the iron bones of the Iron Bones sect were vividly displayed. Once in the Black Wind stronghold, a disciple was greedy for life, and did not hesitate to betray the sect and join the bandits, which made Jun Changshao very disappointed. Now, facing the Holy Spring sect, this disciple did not have the slightest fear, and even dared to roll up his sleeves and face off against a strong enemy, which made him feel even more gratified. "I don't expect my disciples to be so talented. I also don't care if my disciples are noble or not. I only hope that my disciples are sincere and see themselves as a member of the Iron Bones sect, living and dying together, sharing riches and honor together." Sect leader Jun, the 3rd elder of the Holy Spring sect, said disdainfully, "What does your disciple mean?" Jun Changshao said indifferently, "What your disciple means is what my disciple means. Don't pretend to be confused." His disciples were all so hot-blooded. If he was scared, how could he be a sect leader? How could he be a main character? Damn it! Isn't it just a fight? This daddy's hard-to-withdraw blade has long been thirsty. At that moment, Jun Changshao wished he could take off his shirt, reveal the azure dragon on his left and the white tiger on his right, and use the one yang finger and lion's roar on his chest, shouting, "Come here." No wonder he was so calm, he had the hard-to-withdraw blade to rely on. Qin Haoren and the other sect leaders laughed. Daring to talk back to the elder of the Holy Spring sect like this, it would be difficult for you to leave the Spirit Spring sect with your disciples. At this moment, Xie Guankuan came out and advised, "Elder C, sect leader Jun, it's just a spar between disciples, there's no need to be so hostile." He was more inclined towards Jun Changshao, hoping that he could get through this calamity. "Thank you, City Lord." Qin Haoren said indifferently, "Elder C is one of the 8 elders of the Holy Spring sect, a mere sect leader of a 9th-rate sect, speaking in such a tone, isn't it too presumptuous?" Alliance head Qin. Jun Changshao took out his sect-level waist tag and said indifferently, "Please open your dog eyes and let me see clearly. My Iron Bones sect is now an 8th-rate sect." Qin Haoren was furious, "What did you say? You didn't hear clearly." Jun Changshao raised his middle finger and raised his head, "I say, you, the alliance head of the 100 Sect Alliance, are but a dog in front of the Sacred Spring sect." He wouldn't say anything if he just wanted to make a fool of himself. But if he wanted to fan the flames in a strange way, he had to go straight to the point without going through the proper procedure. As the sect leader of a sixth-rate sect and the alliance head of the 100th Sect Alliance, how could Qin Haoran tolerate such humiliation? The killing intent in his eyes was not concealed at all. Tsk tisk. The Sacred Spring Sect's fifth elder said, an eighth-rate sect dares to humiliate Alliance Lord Qin in such an arrogant manner. It looks like they don't have any dignity in the Azure Sun County. He also knew how to fan the flames, and he was even more adept at it. Crack. Qin Haoran clenched his fists and took a step forward. However, just as he took a step forward, he heard a bang from afar. A fist-sized hole appeared on the stone slab a few inches in front of his feet. Swoosh! 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 The three elders of the Sacred Spring Sect stood up and looked coldly in the direction where the light came from. They saw a person standing on the slope with a smoking long object in his hand. Xie Guanquan and the leaders of the various sects also looked over, and their hearts were filled with shock. The light was so fast that they almost missed it. Was that a hidden weapon? The three elders of the Sacred Spring Sect looked at each other in dismay, their eyes showing a rare solemnity. From the speed and power of the light, they could tell that if they didn't have spiritual energy to protect their bodies, they would be severely injured if they were hit. Everyone. Jun Changshao sat on a chair and crossed his legs. He interlocked his fingers and smiled. The person above is a disciple of my sect. He's proficient in 36,000 types of hidden weapons. The hidden weapon he's holding is one of them. It's called the Divine Might Flamethrower. Divine Might Flamethrower? Everyone was at a loss. They had never heard of it. Jun Changshao continued, Sect leader Qin, that was just a warning. If you think my iron bone is easy to bully, I don't mind letting my disciple reward you with another one. There were 3 Wuzong from the Sacred Spring Sect, and Qin Haoran was also a Wuzong. Surrounded by strong opponents, he dared to let Xiao Ziji fire as a warning. What courage! Xie Guanquan secretly said, Sect leader Jun is really amazing. Qin Haoran, who was warned, had an ugly expression. After a little consideration, he retracted his leg. When the light exploded in front of him, the power it emitted scared him. It was hard to tell if the Type 88 sniper rifle could kill a Wuzong, but one thing was certain. It was hard to catch it with a high firing rate. It was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but difficult to guard against a hidden arrow. Sect leader Qin was also a little afraid that the disciple would fire another hidden weapon. Moreover, there was no need for him to take the initiative in the matter between Iron Bone and the Sacred Spring Sect. Of course. It was hard to swallow the anger of being described as a dog. Iron Bone and the 100th Sect Alliance had just parted ways. Now, they had completely fallen out. Xiao Ziji's warning shot shocked Sect leader Qin and the other sect leaders, as well as the Sacred Spring Sect disciples. Even though they had the urge to draw their swords, they did not plan to attack. After all, there was an Iron Bone disciple who was proficient in more than 30,000 hidden weapons. The third elder of the Sacred Spring Sect said indifferently, Sect leader Jun is so arrogant. I would like to see what you're capable of. The purpose of this battle was to embarrass Iron Bone and let others know that even the disciples expelled by their sect could not be provoked. But now, the disciple they sent out was defeated by an Iron Bone disciple. The plot was different from what they expected. It would be hard for them to just let it go. Therefore, they directly challenged Jun Changshao with their status as sect leader. Qin Haoran and the others sneered. Wuzong-level sect leader challenged this guy to a battle. If he accepted, he would definitely be beaten like a dog. Can I reject? Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and asked. He was not afraid of a battle. After all, there was a talisman that could increase one's strength. The key was that there was no mission. If he won, it would be a loss. A sixth-rate sect leader said indifferently, You're a sect leader. The one you challenged is an elder of a sect. If you reject, you will be ridiculed by the people of Jianghu. Oh. Jun Changshao replied. Damn you. Hurry up and give me a side mission. Let me fight him fair and square. Unfortunately, there was no response. The third elder said indifferently, Sect leader June, do you dare to accept the challenge? His eyes and tone were full of disdain. Does he think I don't dare to accept the challenge? June Changshao thought to himself, what's his realm? How much strength does he have? The system said, first grade Wuzong. It's hard to accurately gauge his strength, but it's at least 200,000 pounds. 200,000 pounds? More than that. That's too high. My strength is around 25,000. Even with a 5 times boost from the talisman, it's still a far cry from his 200,000. The system poured cold water on him. Not only is there a difference in strength between the host and him, there is also a difference in realm. If you accept the challenge, your chances of winning are 0. The difference in strength between martial disciples was not big. It was not rare to beat someone above one's realm. But if a martial disciple were to fight a Wuzong, it would be suicide. Damn it, this is a bit of a dilemma. Do I have to waste the only talisman I have and use it? Ha ha ha. Just at that moment, a burst of laughter came from behind. Elder Ma and a few other disciples of the Tsang Mountain sect strode over and said, Elder C of the Grand Master Realm wants to challenge our little friend June, who is only a martial disciple. Sect leader C's face darkened. Ma Yunteng. Chapter 116. Sect leader June was in a dilemma as to whether or not to use the unstoppable blade against the Holy Spring sect's third elder when Tsang Mountain sect's elder Ma arrived. Phew. He let out a sigh of relief and said, the opening talisman is safe. Elder Ma Yun walked over and stood shoulder to shoulder with June Changshao. He smiled and said, little friend June, I didn't expect to see you again so soon after we parted in Qingyang City. June Changshao cupped his hands and said, Qingyang County is too small, we meet everywhere. Ha ha ha. Ma Yunteng laughed and said, what a good, we meet everywhere. Qin Haoran and the other sect leaders' faces changed. Elder Ma called June little friend and was talking and laughing. This meant that the two had a close relationship. Damn it. Since when did little Iron Bone hug Tsang Mountain sect's thigh? June Changshao really didn't hug any thigh. He only gave Ma Yunteng some pointers which made him feel grateful. When he heard about the Holy Spring sect's challenge, he hurried over. They came at the right time. Otherwise, once our sect leader June unsheathed his 40-meter-long blade, it would be difficult to take it back. The 3 elders of the Holy Spring sect had ugly expressions. Could it be that the Tsang Mountain sect had rushed over to support the Iron Bone sect? Elder C. Ma Yunteng said indifferently, although you and little friend June are sect leaders, Wuzong is challenging a martial disciple. Don't you feel ashamed? Humph. Elder C said coldly, I was just joking. Elder Ma, don't take it seriously. Ha. Tsang Mountain sect came to make a joke. If they didn't come, then it wouldn't be a joke. So it's like this. Ma Yunteng pretended to be enlightened and said, like I said, how could a Wuzong challenge a martial disciple? Alliance leader Qin and the other sect leaders suddenly realized that Tsang Mountain sect wanted to support Iron Bone. They couldn't help but sigh. It was good to have a thigh to hug. Elder C's eyes became gloomy. Tsang Mountain sect was also a 5th-rate sect, their strength not weaker than the Holy Spring sect. If they really wanted to protect Iron Bone, they would have to return without success. Elder C. Ma Yunteng said, I've heard a little about the Spiritual Spring sect. Is your Holy Spring sect here to denounce us? Elder C said indifferently, Elder Ma, please don't misunderstand. The Wei brothers have long been expelled and have nothing to do with our Sacred Spring sect. This trip is only to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao with Iron Bone. It's not a punitive expedition. The two of them had a casual conversation, but it felt like neither of them was willing to give an inch. As expected of a 5th-rate sect, their exchange of words was like a battle between two experts. Ma Yunting glanced at Mo Shangfei, who had fainted on the martial arts practice field, and said, "If I'm not wrong, your disciple seems to have been defeated, and the result of the sparring has been decided, right?" At the mention of this, the faces of the three elders of the Sacred Spring Sect turned even uglier. Jun Changshao seized the opportunity and said, "Elder C, if you feel that it's not enough, you and I can send another disciple to have a friendly match." "No need." Elder C pulled a long face and said, "If fate wills it in the future, let's have another match." Mo Shangfei was the best inner disciple he had brought, but he had been beaten unconscious. If the other disciples went up to fight one-on-one, they definitely wouldn't have an advantage. Elder C glanced at the two elders behind him and cupped his hands, saying, "Elder Ma, the sect's affairs are busy, so we'll take our leave first." After saying that, he started to walk away. Perhaps because he had a bellyful of anger, he didn't even bother to greet Alliance head Qin and the others. "Wait a moment." However, just as he reached the door, Jun Changshao shouted. Elder C stopped, but didn't turn around. He said, "Sect head Jun, is there something else?" Jun Changshao also had his back to him. He lowered his head and rubbed his fingers, saying, "Our Iron Bone Sect's #1 motto is to not reciprocate." Changed again, quickly write it down. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma slightly closed their eyes, engraving the newest motto in their hearts. If conditions permitted, they might take out a small notebook and write it down. Not reciprocate is impolite. Elder C said in a low voice, "Sect head Jun, what do you mean by this?" Jun Changshao rubbed his nose and said, 1 year later, this seat will personally lead the sect's disciples to the Holy Spring Sect to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao. Xie Guangquan and the other sect heads immediately widened their eyes. Although there was an extra year, it was undoubtedly a challenge to the Holy Spring Sect. An 8th-rate sect challenging a 5th-rate sect, this was absolutely unprecedented. Elder C said disdainfully, "Sect head Jun, to say something unpleasant, your Iron Bone Sect really doesn't have the qualifications to come to my Holy Spring Sect to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao." Indeed. The difference between an 8th-rate sect and a 5th-rate sect was too great. Jun Changshao smiled faintly. "I don't have the qualifications now, but that doesn't mean I won't have the qualifications a year later." "Good." Elder C said straightforwardly. "My Holy Spring Sect accepts the challenge. 1 year later, we will wait for Sect head Jun and our disciples to come to Holy Spring Mountain to exchange pointers and discuss the Tao." However, Elder C's eyes darkened. When the time comes, Sect head Jun must not miss the appointment. Jun Changshao said, "Elder C, please rest assured. My Iron Bone Sect's first mission is to be civilized, harmonious, honest, and friendly. We will not do anything that goes back on our word." The cultivators present all twitched their mouths. They even wanted to take the liberty to ask, "Sect head Jun, how many of your Iron Bone Sect's first missions are there?" Elder C said indifferently, 1 year later, my Holy Spring Sect respectfully awaits the arrival of Iron Bone Sect. After saying that, he waved his sleeves and angrily left with the other elders and disciples. He had originally wanted to punish Iron Bone Sect in front of everyone, but in the end, his inner disciple had been beaten unconscious and he had to carry him back. This loss of face was too great, so it would be strange if he wasn't angry. After the Holy Spring Sect left, the excitement died down. The various sect heads walked over and bid farewell to Ma Yunting with a smile. However, just as Qin Haoren walked to the door, Jun Changshao said, "Alliance head Qin, after some time, my Iron Bone Sect will also go to Haoqi Sect to spar." "Humph," Qin Haoren said indifferently, "this Qin will be waiting." After he left with the various sect heads, Xie Guangquan walked over and cupped his fists towards Elder Ma. Then, he shook his head and said, "Sect head Jun, you first set a 1-year appointment with the Holy Spring Sect, then set a battle appointment with Haoqi Sect. Aren't you making enemies everywhere?" Jun Changshao said, City Lord Xia, do you think my Iron Bones sect can still get along peacefully with the 100 Sect Alliance and Alliance head Qin? No. Xia Guankuan said. From the moment this brat called Qin Haran a dog, he knew that both sides had completely fallen out. The next time they met in the wild, if they didn't fight, they would be letting down the bitter hatred between them. Jun Changshao shrugged and said, since we are enemies, why not set a battle appointment and let everyone know? Hearing this, Xia Guankuan was enlightened. He immediately raised his thumb and praised, Sect head Jun's move is brilliant, this Xia admires. As long as the news of the battle appointment with Alliance head Qin spread to the Jianghu, no matter if it was Haoqi's sect or the Alliance members, no one would be able to find trouble with Iron Bone sect directly. Otherwise, they would be criticized. This was a good plan. However, Xia Guankuan also knew that once the battle was set, they would be able to avoid being disturbed by the Alliance. But sooner or later, they would have to accept the battle. Would sect leader Jun and his Iron Bone sect be able to defeat the Six Streams Vast Qi sect? P.S. Please vote. Chapter 117. The people of the Holy Spring sect left. Qin Haoran and the other sect leaders also left. Although they left at different times, what they had in common was that they all left with a belly full of anger. One failed to teach Jun Changshao a lesson, one was scolded like a dog, and the rest wanted to see a joke but failed. It would be strange if they were happy. The other forces who came to join in the fun were shocked. Iron Bone Li Qingyang defeated an 8th grade martial disciple with the cultivation of a 4th grade martial disciple. This was absolutely valiant. What was even more valiant was that Jun Changshao was not afraid of a giant like the Holy Spring sect. He even set an appointment to spar with the Holy Spring sect 1 year later. Was he sick in the head? This was what all the martial artists were thinking as they went down the mountain road. They could understand that disciples relied on special martial skills to win. An 8th-rate sect challenging a 5th-rate sect, this was absolutely a joke. Iron Bone sect leader is really bold, daring to challenge the Holy Spring sect. He really doesn't know how much he's worth. In my opinion, he can't even pass the test of Alliance leader Qin, let alone go to the Holy Spring sect. That guy didn't say a specific time limit. Who knows when he will go to the Vast Qi sect to spar. Ever since Sect Master Jun made a name for himself in the 100 sect recruitment, our Azure Sun County hasn't been peaceful. Many martial artists were discussing in private, but they were also looking forward to Jun Changshao taking his disciples to the Vast Qi sect as soon as possible. After all, this would add a little fun to their boring cultivation life. Not to mention, it was not good for the Jianghu to be too peaceful. Outside the ruins of the Spirit Spring sect, Jun Changshao walked out and said gratefully, Elder Ma, thank you for coming in time. Otherwise, Jun really doesn't know how to face the Holy Spring sect. Ma Yinting said, my Blue Mountain sect is in the Azure Sun County after all. Naturally, we will not tolerate the Holy Spring sect bullying little friend Jun Changshao said seriously, Jun will remember today's help. If Elder Ma needs my Iron Bone in the future, I will not spare any effort to help. His principle was if you are bad to me, I am worse than you. You treat me well, and I treat you even better. What's more, the 5 Streams Green Mountain sect had a solid foundation. If he could make friends with them, it would really be a good thigh for him. Jun Changshao would not take the initiative to hug a thigh, but since the thigh had extended itself to him, he would definitely hug it. If he was so shameless as to pluck the leg hair one by one, then his brain would definitely be clamped by the door. Elder Ma smiled and said, Sect Master Jun, I do have a request. Please speak, Jun Changshao said. Elder Ma looked at the disciples behind him and said, these good-for-nothing disciples have encountered some trouble on the path of martial arts. Little friend Jun, please give us some pointers. Jun Changshao said, no problem. As he spoke, he crushed a primary grade insight talisman and began to listen to the Blue Mountain sect disciples talk about their own problems in martial arts, giving them the most correct pointers. At the same time, he also practiced the martial arts of the Tsang Mountain Sect. He couldn't be blamed. With the enhancement of the insight talisman, as long as he obtained the cultivation technique, he would be able to comprehend it within minutes. Of course, this kind of magical insight talisman had a drawback, which was that it was only applicable to the martial arts of the Falling Star continent and had no effect on the martial arts of them all. It was impossible for Jun Changshao to comprehend the martial arts of them all with the insight talisman. Fortunately, the 3 martial arts of the Mall that had been refreshed during this period were not too difficult to learn. In just more than 10 minutes, the disciples of the Tsang Mountain Sect were guided one by one. They were all lost in thought, and their confusion about martial arts suddenly became clear. Xia Guankuan, who was next to him, was dumbfounded. The disciples of the 5th-rate sect were enlightened by the 8th-rate sect leader one by one. This scene was really unimaginable. He leaned over and said rather embarrassedly, "Sect Master Jun, I also have a problem on the path of martial arts. I wonder if you can solve it for me." "Please go ahead," Jun Changshao said. Just now in the martial arts practice field, when City Lord Xia came forward to persuade him, he knew that he was on his side, so he didn't mind giving him some pointers. Xia Guankuan told him about a kind of fist technique that he was practicing and even demonstrated it on the spot. Jun Changshao was silent for a while, then gave him professional technical guidance and slightly changed the way he operated the fist technique. Of course, he also learned the martial arts technique. This change stunned City Lord Xia for a long time. In the end, he gave a thumbs up and exclaimed, "Sect Master Jun's slight change solved my confusion for many years. You are really a god." Jun Changshao said humbly, "This is my only strong point. My martial arts are not worth mentioning. I will have to rely on City Lord Xia in the future. When it was time to be arrogant, he would be arrogant. When it was time to build a good relationship, he would have to build a good relationship. After all, there was still a long way to go. If he offended the whole world, he would die sooner or later unless he had the protagonist's halo." Xia Guankuan was also a wily old fox. How could he not understand the meaning of his words? So he said seriously, "Sect Master Jun, please rest assured. As long as you are in the territory of Qingyang City, anyone who dares to touch your iron bone will be the enemy of the 3.6 million people of Qingyang City." This city lord was a little cute to be able to pull out 3.6 million people without saying anything. However, he didn't expect that one day in the future, the flames of war would spread to Qingyang County. Tens of thousands of cavalry would arrive at Qingyang City, and a fierce man and some fierce disciples would stand on the city walls to protect the 3.6 million people with their iron bones. His disciple had received some pointers and needed to go into seclusion to comprehend them. So Ma Yunteng bid farewell. However, before he left, he gave Xia Guankuan 1,000,000 taels as thanks for the pointers. Jun Changshao said in surprise, 1,000,000 taels in one go. Elder Ma is really rich. Xia Guankuan said, although the Blue Mountain Sect lives in seclusion in the Blue Mountain Sect and rarely travels in the Jianghu, they have properties in every city and are managed by Elder Ma. Their financial power cannot be underestimated. As expected. Jun Changshao thought, whether it is the previous world or the present world, this surnamed Ma is really amazing. The system said, "Go and call your father." Scram. Jun Changshao brought his disciple and Xia Guankuan down the mountain and returned to Qingyang City. As for Xiao Ziji and Yixingchen, they continued to cultivate. Not long after, the news of Iron Bone's one-year battle with the Sacred Spring Sect spread throughout Qingyang County. Without a doubt, it caused a huge uproar. Have you heard about the matter of the Spiritual Spring Sect? This was the first sentence that martial artists said when they met. If someone said that they had not heard about it, then they were definitely fat otakus and would be despised by everyone. The one-year battle. Not only did it spread throughout Qingyang County, it also spread to other counties. After the families and sects of the counties heard the news, not only did they remember the unknown iron bone, they also unanimously believed that they were courting death. In fact, the reason why Jun Changshao dared to issue the battle was just like Xiao Ziji's 3-year battle. He had set a goal for himself, such as defeating a 5th-rate sect a year later. Not starting with an 8th-rate or 7th-rate sect, but directly aiming for a 5th-rate sect, this was really a bit too valiant. If one did not become stronger while courting death, one would be singing a sad song while courting death. This was very exciting. After returning to the sect, Jun Changshao gathered his disciples and said, 1 year later, we will go to the Sacred Spring sect to spar. Your mission is to become stronger and stronger. Tell me loudly, can you do it? Yes. The disciples shouted with their hands behind their backs. OJ8K, disband. Chapter 118. The 1-year agreement with the Sacred Spring sect and the sparring at the Haochi sect made the atmosphere in Iron Bone more serious, and the disciples worked harder on their cultivation. But it was far from enough. Not to mention fighting against a 5th-rate sect, just facing a 6th-rate sect was like a huge mountain in front of them, and it was very difficult to surmount. After returning, Jun Changshao had been thinking about this problem, and finally came to the conclusion that to make the disciples stronger, they could only rely on elixirs and spirit stones. The system said, elixirs and spirit stones are only supplementary goods, the disciples' spirit root aptitude determines everything. That's right. Jun Changshao agreed. Elixirs and spirit stones can certainly improve cultivation quickly, but the disciples' spirit roots are ordinary, and sooner or later they will be unable to continue. If I can use the aptitude-modifying elixir to improve my spirit root, the other disciples must be able to as well. Jun Changshao murmured. A bold idea rose in his mind, to use the aptitude-modifying elixir to improve the quality of the disciples' spirit roots. In the shopping list, there were 3 types of aptitude-modifying elixirs, which could easily make a disciple with a low-grade spirit root reach the high-grade level. But to buy all 3 types, it would cost 150 contribution points. With the current contribution points limit, he could only buy 3 sets to help 3 disciples improve. Jun Changshao murmured, with my current ability, I can't train all of them, but I can let some of them become stronger first. Every sect had an inner sect division, and the inner sect was equal to the elites, and enjoyed enough resources. Jun Changshao wanted to let some of the disciples become stronger first, and in fact, it was equivalent to dividing the inner and outer sect disciples. In a large sect, to become an inner sect disciple, one must rely on one's own aptitude and hard work to fight for it. Jun Changshao wanted to choose a few first. Li Qingyang with the high-grade spirit root and the mysterious Lu Qianqian could be excluded, and he quickly drew up the list of disciples to focus on. Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, Li Fei, and Yixingchen. The next day, Jun Changshao officially announced that from today onwards, Iron Bone would be divided into inner and outer disciples. The first batch of inner disciples would consist of 7. I treat all of you equally. If you want to become an inner sect disciple, you must prove yourself with your strength, he added. The disciples didn't feel dispirited at all. Instead, they became even more determined to become stronger. Work hard. Work harder. Use your own strength to become an inner court disciple. The division between the inner and outer sects once again stimulated the Iron Bone disciples' passion for cultivation. After all, it was tantamount to giving them a goal to strive for. Sect leader. After disbanding, Lu Qianqian walked into the main hall and said, since we're going to divide the inner and outer sect, the rewards and punishments must also be set. Only then will the junior brothers have more motivation to cultivate and not slack off. Leaning on the chair, Jun Changshao smiled. What do you think? Lu Qianqian said, there will be a strength assessment every month, a small disciple competition every 3 months, and a big disciple competition every year. This system was used by many sections. How many protagonists in novels didn't shine in various competitions in academies and sects, and eventually become gods, demons, emperors, and celestial lords? Yes, Jun Changshao said. The existence of the system had its reasons. He couldn't avoid it. Moreover, didn't the world's top student also stand out in the annual assessment and become an existence that everyone looked up to? How are the rewards and punishments? The champion of the big disciple competition every year will become an inner court disciple. The top 9 will be rewarded. The same goes for the top 10 in the small competition every 3 months. In the strength assessment every month, the outstanding will be rewarded accordingly. The bottom will have to do labor for a certain period of time. Hearing Lu Qianqian explain the various rewards and punishments in such detail, Li Qingyang couldn't help but think, this is definitely the first time senior sister has spoken so much. Jun Changshao said, yes. He adopted Lu Qianqian's suggestion to set up various tests and small competitions for Iron Bone. He also thought seriously about the rewards. In the strength assessment every month, the winner will receive 3 qi gathering pills. In the small competition every 3 months, the champion will receive 10 qi gathering pills, the second and third place will receive 5, and the 4th to 10th place will receive 3 each. The rewards of the big competition every year were more generous. The champion will not only become an inner court disciple, but will also be rewarded with the basic cold-edge sword and 20 qi gathering pills. The top 9 will also receive different amounts of rewards. This was only a temporary reward system. When the sect became stronger and had more martial arts resources, it would definitely be improved. Unlike other sects, as long as a disciple joined, there would be various benefits. For example, the sect's martial arts could be practiced freely, the basic body shaping pill would be given to everyone, and the meridian opening pill would be given out at a fixed time. Just this point alone made even the most powerful sects feel ashamed of their inferiority. Late at night, Jun Changshao sat on the roof of the main hall and took a puff of his cigar. He blew out a smoke ring and said, the division of disciples and the rewards and punishments have been established. It represents the formal establishment of the sect. My goal is, holding the cigar and pointing to the sky, he said heroically, to conquer the sea of stars. Bang! Plop, oh my god, Li Fei, you kicked the sect leader down. Rustle, rustle, rustle. In the dark and damp mountain forest, a figure bent over and ran quickly. Then, he stuck to a moss-covered rock and sprinkled a handful of grass leaves, which then drifted away with the wind. This was Xiao Ziji, locating the wind direction and speed. Shwa! Suddenly, he appeared from the rock, holding up the Type 88 sniper rifle. His index finger suddenly pulled the trigger, only to hear a bang sound. A stream of light burst out, accurately hitting the head of the bear that was tearing at the corpse 800 meters away. He didn't use the 8x scope, it was completely a shoulder shot. Very accurate, super accurate. Dang dang dang. Because of the recoil, Xiao Ziji took a few steps back. Shooting with the support of the magic-modified shoulder pads, he could ignore it, but shooting while standing still couldn't withstand it. After a while, he came to the front of the slain 5th-rank beast and took out its core with the cold-edged sword. A bright smile appeared on his face. Boom! The sound of a fist came from another area. Yixingqian's fist wind bombarded a first-rank tiger beast and finally cruelly cut open its stomach. Blood and minced meat splattered, making him look like a killing god. Xiao Ziji secretly said, Junior brother Ye's killing intent is very strong. Just after his rebirth, he was forced to join the Iron Bone Club and suffered the torture of happy football. Now that he was training in the wilderness, if Night Emperor didn't vent his anger and killing intent, he might suffer internal injuries. Not counting the Spirit Spring Mountain, the two had been training in the wilderness for 7 days. Relying on the Yi Jin Jing, Xiao Ziji entered the 5th stage from the 4th stage of the Meridian Opening Realm, and Yixingqian entered the 9th stage. The increase in realm was secondary. The most important thing was that under the 7 days of training, the two's combat experience had increased. For example, Yi Xingqian had perfectly adapted to his body during this period of training. Relying on the martial arts experience of his previous life, he could seize the initiative when facing an enemy. However, due to his body's aptitude, his spiritual energy, reaction time, and various factors were limited. If he challenged a high-level vicious beast, he would definitely be abused. As long as I comprehend the second stage of the Taixien Sutra, my spiritual root aptitude can be raised from the low grade to the common grade. Yi Xingqian secretly said. He was full of hope for his future because he had the Taixien Sutra and the Yi Jin Jing. Bang! Suddenly, the sound of a gunshot rang out, and a flowing light bullet shot out. Yi Xingqian's pupils suddenly contracted. At that moment, he wanted to dodge, but his body couldn't keep up with his thoughts. Bang! The flowing light bullet flew past his ear, directly exploding the head of the low-level vicious beast pouncing from behind. Plop! Its huge body crashed to the ground, blood flowing out. Yi Xingqian's forehead oozed a drop of cold sweat. In the 0.1 second just now, he calculated that if he died, would his next rebirth take thousands or tens of thousands of years? Junior brother Yi. Xiao Ziji steadied his body and placed the gun on his shoulder. He smiled and said, "Retrieve the crystal core." Chapter 119. On the sixth day after the Spirit Spring Mountain battle, all the Iron Bone disciples, except for Lu Wanshi, had broken through to the 12th stage of the Channel Opening Realm. Sect Master Li Qingyang reported, in the past few days, more disciples have broken through to the martial disciple realm. The number of disciples has reached 19. 19 martial disciples and 79 12th stage of the Channel Opening Realm. Very strong. Unfortunately, there was a limit to the number of disciples in the sect. Even if all of them became strong, they would not be able to reach the 7th rate. Jun Changshao muttered, "It's time to open the sect and accept disciples." Once the sect became official, the number of disciples had to increase. Therefore, he went to Qingyang City on the same day and went to the city lord's mansion. "Thank you, city lord." As soon as he entered the hall, Jun Changshao went back to the main topic, "I want to recruit disciples. Can I borrow the signboard?" "No problem," Xie Guangkuan said straightforwardly. As a result, the Iron Bone sect's recruitment advertisements appeared on every street bulletin board in every district of Qingyang City. Every recruitment notice was different. East of the city, join the Iron Bone clan and create a dream together. South of the city, gather all the talents in the world and recruit talents. Iron Bone clan, you are trustworthy. North of the city, don't think that you are not a fine horse. In fact, you just lack a talent scout. West of the city, if you want to fly, I will give you a pair of wings. The recruitment announcements of the various sects in the Falling Star continent were either literary or classical. Iron Bone's short and unique recruitment announcement immediately attracted a lot of attention. Not only in Qingyang City. Jun Changshao relied on the AI clan's connections and also made recruitment announcements in Huyang City. However, after a few days, the number of martial artists who signed up was very few. Caw caw, crows flew in the sky and cried out. Jun Changshao, who was sitting in front of the mountain gate, held his chin and collapsed. "We have done a lot of big things in this period of time. Why hasn't anyone signed up?" Li Qingyang said, "Sect Master, our sect has a battle agreement with the Sacred Spring Sect and the Grand Spirit Sect. We are at the heart of the storm. I am afraid that many people are afraid to sign up." "That makes sense," Jun Changshao said. "Actually, this wasn't a bad idea. At least they could get rid of some hooligans. Those who dared to sign up were definitely not afraid of trouble. They really wanted to join Iron Bone." Ta! At this moment, a young man in white walked up the stairs. One of his hands was behind his back, while the other was gently fanning himself. A cool breeze blew away his scattered black hair, revealing a handsome face. When Jun Changshao and Li Qingyang looked over, their first thought was how flirtatious. Schwa. The young man in white closed his folding fan and walked to the front of the registration counter. He said in a gentle and elegant manner, "Sect leader Jun, I have admired the Iron Bone clan for a long time, so I came here to be your disciple." The direction of the cupped hands was Li Qingyang. Jun Changshao raised his hand and pushed the second disciple away. Then, he picked up the brush and wrote the words "I am the sect leader" on a piece of paper. He then slapped the paper on his forehead. "Let me ask you, is it clear enough?" Seeing this, the young man in white said awkwardly, "I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else." "Please don't take offense, sect leader Jun, take offense? How is that possible? I can hold a boat in my stomach." Jun Changshao crossed his legs and waved the brush in his fingers. He said in a bad mood, "What's your name?" "Long Xiang," the young man in white said. Jun Changshao was stunned. He pulled the paper off his head and looked at the person carefully. He thought to himself, so polite, he should have received higher education. Also, his surname is Long, so his identity is definitely not simple. After a brief consideration, he took the entry form and asked, "Gender?" "Male." "Age?" "Just over 16. "Realm?" "Level 9 Meridian Opening." Jun Changshao did not ask about spirit roots, because as long as he was interested, low grade and supreme grade were meaningless. He directly stamped it. Ding! Sect member, 103500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 302500. Jun Changshao said, "Qingyang, take your junior brother to the sect. Arrange a room and give him the school uniform. Oh right, don't forget to give him the sect's mission and rules booklet." "Yes." Li Qingyang brought Long Xiang into the sect. Jun Changshao continued to cultivate Yi Jin Jing while waiting. Not long after, a muscular man came up. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "Excuse me, are you still recruiting?" "Yes," Jun Changshao said. The man walked over and put his hands on the table. He said while panting, "I want to join the Iron Bone sect." Jun Changshao held his chin and looked at him. He said, "Your body looks good, why are you so tired from climbing the mountain?" I. The man held his breath. "I ran all the way here from Huyang City." Jun Changshao was shocked. The Iron Bone sect was hundreds of miles away from Huyang City. To be able to run all the way here in one breath, his body was very strong. Name: Yang Yuhua. Such a muscular man, yet his name was quite elegant. Age: 15 years old. Jun Changshao raised his head and looked at the man's body and head. He then looked at the man's angular face and said in surprise, "You're only 15 years old." Yang Yuhua scratched his head and said, "Others say that I look old." "You're not old, you just look a little rushed." Jun Changshao said, "Stage." Yang Yuhua said softly, "Third stage meridian opening." He was so muscular and could run all the way to the Iron Bone sect in one breath. He was only at the third stage meridian opening. It seemed that his body was developed, but his spirit root was weaker. "Brother, can I join?" Yang Yuhua said weakly. Jun Changshao stamped the sect master's seal and pointed at the door. "Take the form and go in. Someone will arrange everything for you." Ding! Sect members, 104500. Ding! Sect contribution points, 303,500. Yang Yuhua took the form and walked into the sect. He did not forget to turn back and say gratefully, "Thank you, brother." "Kid." Jun Changshao said indifferently, "I'm holding the sect master's seal and you're calling me brother?" Ga. Yang Yuhua stopped in his tracks and turned his head. His expression changed and he quickly cupped his hands. "I'm sorry, brother." "Sect master." "Sect master." More people came to sign up. However, Jun Changshao would first make a judgment based on his intuition and then decide whether to accept them or not. In one day, more than 10 people signed up. Including Long Xiang and Yang Yuhua, only 5 disciples were recruited. The rest were all eliminated. It was not that he did not want to accept them, but that some of them were too weird. For example, the last person was a hunchbacked old man in his 70s or 80s. Sigh. Perhaps Li Qingyang was right. The sect is in the teeth of the storm. There are very few martial artists who dare to sign up. 10 days later. Iron Bone only recruited 46 disciples. Jun Changshao handed the matter over to Li Qingyang. Then, he called Su Xiaoma, Tian Qi, and Li Fei to the study room. In view of your good performance, each of you will be rewarded with a bottle of aptitude-changing liquid. Aptitude-changing liquid? Su Xiaoma asked with a puzzled expression, Sect Master, what is this? After consuming it, it will allow you to break through 1 grade from your original spirit roots. Jun Changshao said. He said it very casually, but the 3 of them opened their eyes wide and their mouths wide open. It should be more than enough to stuff 2 eggs. Su Xiaoma's spirit root was of the common grade. His aptitude-changing liquid was suitable for common grade. Tian Qi and Li Fei's were suitable for lower grade. The 3 of them returned to their rooms as if they had found a treasure. They carefully drank the liquid. Not only did their spirit roots improve, their cultivation was also increased. They all broke through to the 2nd grade martial disciple. Too magical. They were happy, but Sect Master Jun spent 150 contribution points. Now, he only had 185 points left. The system said, using the contribution points on them is a bit of a waste. Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said proudly, in the Spirit Spring Mountain, I am not afraid of the Sacred Spring Sect. I am willing to use contribution points to cultivate such unyielding disciples. What can you do? Chapter 120. Transforming Su Xiaoma and the other 2 was just the beginning. Jun Changshao left 2 bottles of contribution points for Xiao Ziji in Yixingchen, waiting for them to return. Li Qingyang and Lu Qianqian, because he didn't have the higher quality transformation liquid, he could only temporarily give them qi gathering pills to help them quickly increase their cultivation. With more than 100 disciples, Jun Changshao couldn't divide them equally. Yes, divide them equally. If you want to be dirty, hurry up and face the wall. He decided on a few main disciples first, hoping that after a year on the Sacred Spring Mountain, they would have a stunning performance and loudly tell the world that the Iron Bone clan was not simple. In fact, Jun Changshao could buy 1 less bottle. Because Yixingchen, who was cultivating in the wild, had comprehended the Taixien Sutra to the 2nd stage, and his spiritual root had entered the mortal grade from the low grade. His realm had also broken through from the 9th stage to the 12th stage, and was only 1 step away from becoming a martial disciple. Ha ha ha. Sitting cross-legged in the cave, feeling the sublimation of his spiritual root and the improvement of his body, Yixingchen unscrupulously laughed out loud. I will strengthen my body and enter the divine grade spiritual root. That will be the day when I return to the peak. He clenched his fists and said with a cold look in his eyes, at that time, I will make the heavens unable to cover my eyes and the earth unable to bury my heart. I will make the so-called Empress of the Eternal Era disappear. Whoosh whoosh. His body emitted a special aura. This was the domineering aura of a former martial emperor. Unfortunately, his soul suffered a setback in his previous life, and he was nurtured in the earth's core for thousands of years. After breaking through the mortal grade spiritual root, only a little of it was revealed. Xiao Ziji, who was awakened by the laughter, said, Junior brother Yi, why are you laughing in the middle of the night? Humph, Yixingchen coldly snorted and said, vulgar mortal. Roar. Suddenly, a roar came from outside the cave, and the ground shook. Not good. Xiao Ziji carried the Type 88 sniper rifle and rushed out of the cave. In the distance, a huge black bear stood up, and a thick tree was directly cut in half by the bear's paw. Yi Xingchen walked out, glanced at the big guy, and said disdainfully, "Trash." Schwa. Xiao Ziji raised his gun and aimed at the black bear's head. "Wait." Yi Xingchen raised his hand and stood in front of him. He said coldly, "Leave it to me." Xiao Ziji said, "Junior brother, this is a black demon bear comparable to a peak martial disciple." Roar. The dark demon bear swung its arms and smashed the trees around it. It roared furiously at the two of them, bringing with it a strong wind that brought with it a nauseating stench. Trash. As Yi Xingchen spoke, he took 2 steps back and said, "I'm too lazy to do anything." Roar. Just at this moment, the black demon bear dragged its huge body and rushed over. The trees and rocks along the way were either knocked away or smashed into pieces. Boom. Gunshots rang out in the forest. "Let's learn to meow together, meow 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 meow." Acting coquettishly in front of you, I-o meow 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 meow. Early morning, martial arts practice field. The magically modified sound system was playing a brand new divine song, and all the disciples of Iron Bone were dancing to the rhythm. Lu Wancher was following the melody of the music. Sometimes she clenched her small fists, put them in front of her cheeks, and sometimes she nodded gently. She looked extremely cute. Seeing the little girl jumping happily, Jun Changshao whispered, "Dudu was born in the wrong world. If he was born on Earth, he would definitely be a group of dead fat otakus." Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "Since there are guns in the mall, are there any rockets or spaceships?" "Yes," the system said. Jun Changshao was overjoyed. But the system habitually poured cold water on him and said, "Only high-level malls can refresh, so the host should take back the immature idea of crossing the universe and returning to Earth." Jun Changshao said disapprovingly, "As long as there is such a thing, there is a possibility of returning to Earth." The system said, "There is spiritual power in the high-level world, and the lifespan of living beings is much higher than that of Earth. Why does the host have to go back? You don't understand." Jun Changshao looked at the distant sky and said longingly, "That is my home. My friends are there, and also my first love, and relatives." I don't think I have any relatives." The system said, "So the host's purpose of returning to Earth is to bring the high-level world's cultivation to show off? Annoying, you have to expose me." "Of course." Jun Changshao said, "American movies don't always have some Iron Man, green hat, and save the world. When I go back, I will call all the people from the Women's Federation over and beat them up one by one. Let's see how awesome they are." The system was speechless. That's just a movie. Not to mention, if these superheroes really exist, then the entire Earth, and even the Milky Way, will be Simidas. This retort. Jun Changshao said, sharp. "Oh, right." The system said again, "Asian Games Hero League exhibition competition in Jakarta, your country's players defeated the Korean team 3-1 and won the gold medal." As an ex-bronze ranked player in Hero League, Jun Changshao was stunned. The system said, "The career of a game player is very short. To be able to make the host country's flag fly in the competition once every 4 years, this is worthy of respect." Schwa. Jun Changshao tore off his long shirt and rushed into the training field. He followed the disciples and danced to the beat. He was as happy as a 5 or 6-year-old child. "Babies, let's get high. My heart is thumping, I am infatuated with your evil smile. If you don't say you love me, I will meow meow meow." After the morning exercise, the disciples went back to their own training. Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other disciples who had just entered the sect had ugly expressions. It was obvious that they had not gotten used to the shameful morning exercise. "I was actually dancing just now, I was actually twisting just now." Xiang, Yuhua. Su Xiaoma waved his hand and smiled, "Come come, senior brother will bring you to training." "Oh." Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other new disciples followed and entered the training room. One by one, they entered the muscle building room and went through 2 hours of building. At night, this group of new disciples was paralyzed on the training field. The next day, after they regained their energy, they began to learn how to play football. In the end, after Li Fei used his face to catch the ball, they squatted in a corner like children and covered their faces as they wailed. "Mom! There are too many bad people in the sect, I want to go home." Go home. That did not exist. The moment they stepped into the Iron Bonjing sect, they were destined to either become stronger in a mountain of blades and a sea of flames or sing in the abyss of hell. After the new disciples entered the sect, everyone received a copy of the tendon-changing scripture and the muscle-building pill and began to learn how to integrate into the life of the sect. Jun Changshao then began to think about how to quickly increase his contribution points. The fastest way to earn contribution points was to recruit all the disciples. This way, he could obtain 352 contribution points and also activate the sect mission. However, it was not easy to recruit. Li Qingyang sat outside for 2 days and did not see anyone. "My head hurts." Jun Changshao rubbed his temples. Sect leader. Elder Wei walked into the main hall and said, "The planted herbs have sprouted." "So fast?" Jun Changshao was rather surprised. Calculating the time, it had only been slightly more than 10 days. Elder Wei said, "Herbs are not like crops. If you cultivate them diligently, they will feel it and express their gratitude by growing quickly." "So mysterious." Jun Changshao said with interest, "Elder Wei, you are not simple. Is it convenient for you to tell me your story?" Elder Wei laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "I am only a third-grade apothecary. I have done nothing for most of my life. What story can I have?" Jun Changshao said, "Elder Wei is very professional in cultivating herbs. Only a third-grade apothecary? I will never believe it." Elder Wei did not want to talk about this topic and said, "I need a few disciples to go to the mountains to fetch spring water to water the herbs." Everyone had their own secrets. If he did not say, Jun Changshao would not force him. He immediately arranged for Long Xiang, Yang Yuhua, and the other new disciples to help Elder Wei fetch water from the mountains. Sect leader. At this moment, Li Qingyang hurriedly walked in from outside. With a serious expression, he said, "Star Cloud Sect Elder brought disciples to spar." Star Cloud Sect. Jun Changshao had never heard of it. Li Qingyang said, "One of the 4 seventh-rate sects in Qingyang County. The sect leader is called Meng Xingde. The one who brought disciples to spar is the 7th elder." Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "This 7th-rate Star Cloud sect should be a member of the 100 Sect Alliance." "That's right," Li Qingyang said. Chapter 121. The 100 Sect Alliance's Nebula sect came to find him to spar. Even a fool could see that they had some dirty dealings with Alliance leader Qin. Alliance leader Qin. Jun Changshao rubbed his fingers and laughed, "We have a battle agreement. It's not convenient for you to make a move, so you sent other sects to stir up trouble. Very particular, very particular." Ding. Side mission activated. The system notification sounded. Damn. Finally, a mission came. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened the data panel. The side mission was, Defeat Nebula Sect's 7th Elder Song Kai 0 of 1, Elite Mission. There was a second mission. The mission was, Disciple Beat Up Nebula Sect's Disciple 0/5. It was fine if he didn't come, but when he came, he got 2. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Jun Changshao waved his sleeves and stood up confidently, "Quickly, invite the Nebula Sect's elder in." Yes. Li Qingyang turned and left. He was puzzled. Sect leader looks very happy. He lacked contribution points, but someone sent him 2 missions. Of course, sect leader Jun was happy. He couldn't wait to turn on the stereo and start dancing. Martial Arts Arena. The Iron Bone disciples stopped cultivating and stood behind the sect leader. Jun Chang Shao sat on a chair with one leg propped up. He couldn't stop the smile from appearing on his face. Opposite. The Nebula Sect's elder stood proudly with his hands behind his back. Behind him stood 5 disciples. From their aura, they were definitely martial disciples and their ranks weren't low. In Jun Changxiao's eyes, contribution points were floating above these people's heads. The system said, 5 disciples. From left to right, 5th grade, 4th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, and 2nd grade martial disciples. TSK. Jun Changxiao thought, worthy of being a 7th-rate sect. Their disciples are awesome. Sect leader Jun Song Kai cupped his hands and said, your sect's disciples took the top 4 spots in the Great Sect competition. My Nebula sect admires you. Today, I brought my disciples here to learn from you. The Nebula sect also participated in the Great Sect competition. However, they sent their outer sect disciples. Their cultivation wasn't high and they were eliminated in the last few rounds. It wasn't that they didn't want to send high-ranking disciples, but there was a clear rule in the intersect tournament. A disciple could only participate once, and they had to be under the age of 18. Jun Changxiao said, making friends through martial arts, exchanging pointers and discussing the Tao. Why aren't you welcoming them? Pa! 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 All the disciples applauded in unison to welcome him. The corner of Song Kai's mouth twitched. Very quickly, he said seriously, this song has brought 5 inner sect disciples from my Nebula sect. I hope to have 5 one-on-one matches with your sect's disciples. What do you think, Sect Master Jun? Did this guy think that only Li Qingyang was stronger than Iron Bone, so he deliberately chose to have more people fight more battles? Jun Changxiao said, sure. Qingyang. He waved his hand and said, go and spar with the guests who came from afar. Yes. Li Qingyang took a step forward, only to hear the sect leader whisper, give him a good beating, beat him until he cries for his father and mother. The side mission was to beat the Nebula sect's disciples. If it was easy to defeat them, then it definitely wouldn't meet the requirements. Li Qingyang nodded and walked to the center of the martial arts practice field. Song Kai also sent out a disciple, who was the weakest of the 5, a 2nd-grade martial disciple. Jun Changxiao disdainfully said, my Huaxia ancestors played a leftover trick, and they still have the face to show it. Pa! With a snap of his fingers, a disciple came in with tea. Li Qingyang. Jia Tengeiying. Pft! Jun Changxiao spat out a mouthful of tea. Both sides reported their names, and the battle began. Shua. Jia Tengeiying took the initiative and rushed forward. 2 fingers condensed spiritual light, and with a shua 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 sound, she stabbed out. This was a middle-grade mortal martial art, quick shadow finger. From the speed and the appearance of the finger shadows, it showed that this person had been immersed in this technique for a long time, otherwise it would be impossible to reach such a level. Li Qingyang put his hands behind his back and moved rhythmically, dodging the finger shadows. He defeated Mo Shangfei of the Sacred Spring Sect. Against a 2nd-grade martial disciple, it could only be described as easy. Even if he kept stabbing until the sky turned dark, he might not even be able to touch the corner of his clothes. Jia Tengeiying knew that there was a big gap between her and her opponent, but as a martial artist, how could she admit defeat? She continued to use the quick shadow finger to poke wildly. Pa! Suddenly, Li Qingyang, who was dodging, grabbed her wrist with one hand and lightly pushed her away with his shoulder. Jia Tengeiying, who had retreated more than 10 steps, had not yet stabilized her body when a hand grabbed her collar and lifted her up forcefully. Plop! She flew 160 degrees and fell to the ground. Then, she flew 160 degrees in the opposite direction and fell to the ground again. Bang! 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 Li Qingyang, who was standing on the martial arts practice field, had one hand behind his back and the other hand grabbed Jia Tengying's collar and threw her left and right. After a while, she was dizzy from being thrown around. Her mouth and eyes were crooked. Ding! Disciple brutally thrashing Star Cloud Sect Disciple 15. Li Qingyang's bullying met the requirement of brutality. One mission completed. Qingyang, sparring and discussing Dao, that's enough. Jun Changshao said. Li Qingyang dragged Jia Tengying, who was foaming at the mouth, to the edge of the martial arts practice field and threw her out. Second senior brother won. The disciples immediately cheered. When the new disciples saw a martial disciple being brutally thrashed, they immediately worshipped their second senior brother. Song Kai snorted coldly. His disciple's defeat was within his expectations. Li Qingyang had already fought, so the Iron Bones sect did not have any outstanding disciples. For the next 4 rounds, the Star Cloud sect would control the entire field. Indeed, they controlled the entire field. This was because the second disciple who went up was kicked all over the martial arts practice field by Li Fei. Every stone under his feet experienced the fear of being controlled by Li Fei's feet. In the end, he ran until he was exhausted. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. Ding! Disciple thrashed Star Cloud Sect Disciple 25. After hearing the notification, Jun Changshao spread out his hands and said, "Sorry, my disciple was a little heavy-handed." Song Kai's old face fell. That Iron Bones sect disciple was clearly only a second-grade martial disciple. How could he thrash his own third-grade martial disciple so miserably? If he knew that this was a man who had even kicked the sect leader down, he would understand. The problem was not big. There were not many disciples who had the ability to fight above their level. As long as they won the next 3 rounds, it would be fine. Thinking of this, Song Kai raised his hand. The 4th-grade martial disciple walked up to the martial arts practice field. Jun Changshao originally planned to let Tian Qi or Su Xiaoma fight, but before he could open his mouth, he saw 2 people appear at the gate. Who? Xiao Ziji and Yixingchen. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were dirty. Their school uniforms were torn in strips. It was obvious that they were scratched by the claws of fierce beasts. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched and said, "When you went out, you had an imposing appearance. How did you come back as refugees?" "Sect leader, we're back." Xiao Ziji grinned, revealing a row of neat white teeth. "Just in time." Jun Changshao waved his hand and said, "Star Cloud's sect has come to exchange pointers. You'll be the 3rd opponent, right?" "Ah." Xiao Ziji was dumbfounded. He and Yixingchen went deep into the mountain forest. In the end, they were chased by a group of fierce beasts. In the end, they risked their lives to escape. Then, they returned to the sect. Without resting, they fought with others. This was too exciting. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.